Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Summoner of the Undead. Skills upgrade once every second. Chapter 21. Finally reached level 10. After equipping the grimoire of the Undead, my chanting time is shortened to 1 second, so that I can replace it with summons at any time. Even if all the skeleton monsters die, I can still summon them again and let them appear with full health again. It also has the ability to fly, which seems good for escaping or detecting intelligence. Qinzi happily equipped the Book of the Undead and brushed his fingertips over the mysteriously patterned book cover. The skull head engraved in the middle was very conspicuous. "Father, you have reached level 10, congratulations," Lu Yong said excitedly. Walking all the way, he felt like he was in a dream. Although he can only gain a little experience, in the face of the absolute experience base, it is enough for him to level up again. It has now reached level 5. If ordinary people want to reach level 5, they have to take at least 1 year to achieve it, and the higher the level, the harder it is to rise. Many people are stuck at level 5 forever. Simple dungeons do not give experience, and difficult dungeons are difficult to pass. In the end, they can only lost in the crowd, withdrew from the professional stage. Only one professional among tens of thousands of people can rise to level 10. And Qinzi rose to level 10 in just 2 days. He looked at Qinzi with not only gratitude but also admiration. Strong, too strong. He has already transformed into Zebuki in his heart. Qinzi was not excited about the level improvement. What concerned him was the high-level skills of the undead summoner. There are different levels of skills, which he really didn't expect. He only knows that as the level increases, learnable professional skills will gradually be unlocked. At level 25, you can perform a transfer to obtain a specific career direction. Each professional has his own unique career advancement direction. The combat power of current professionals will undergo its first qualitative change. When you go out, be sure to acquire high-level skills. After getting rid of the beetle spirit, continue to advance forward. After about half an hour, we finally came to the familiar marble fountain. The long-haired ghoul boss was lying on the marble fountain. When it noticed someone coming, it slowly raised its head. The pupils in its eyes were like vortexes, as if it wanted to drag the human soul into it. Long-haired ghoul, nightmare. Boss, HP, 132,700. Attributes, Strength plus 931, Agility 1083, Intelligence 273. Skill 1, Blood Moon Rotation. The silver moon in the sky completely turned into a blood moon, and the ancient door opened wide, thirsting for the blood and flesh of boys and girls. They love to knead the pieces of flesh together and give them new life. This time the ancient and evil power came out, will be spliced onto the body of the long-haired ghoul. All attributes will increase 3 times, and the blood volume will decrease by 1000 points per second until death. Skill 2, Phantom Forest. The eyes of the long-haired ghoul can cast illusions, forcibly pulling the enemy's consciousness into them, and inflicting extreme pain on them, causing confusion, sluggishness, madness and other negative effects, and there is a certain probability of turning the enemy into an idiot. Skill 3, Watchdog. The guardians of the ancient door select and accept the sacrificed blood food and present it to them. Each time, they will receive full attribute feedback. When it dies, the ancient door will close, waiting for the next one to see. The birth of the guard dog. Introduction. Their beloved, are you ready for revenge? Watchdog. This thing seems to be a guard. Lu Yong also saw the introduction of the long-haired ghoul, and his legs were trembling. His secret fears seemed to be unraveling, and he was 100% regretting it. You said the boss we are going to fight in the end won't be the monster this thing is guarding at the end, right? Compared to the information released on the panel, the long-haired ghoul's super attributes seem to be nothing. Impossible. The ancient and powerful existence is not something we can deal with at level 10. Even if it is a nightmare copy, we must consider the most extreme possibility. If we create a boss at level 60 or 70, it will not be a copy, but a killing machine. Whoever enters will die. I think it should be just a background board, Qinzi said firmly. I'm relieved now. Wait, this long-haired ghoul doesn't seem to be easy to fight either. My mother, I have more than 1,000 agility attributes. Many level 20 professionals only have 400 to 500 basic attributes when they reach level 20. And these are the top ones. Or else it's a nightmare copy. Qinzi seemed very calm. Let's put the hot pot out again. I'm afraid it will take a long time this time. Ah, brother, no, adoptive father, is it appropriate for us to eat hot pot now? This is too disrespectful to this nightmare boss. What if he gets angry? Can you go up and fight? Well, that's definitely not possible. Just slap me and I'll be dead. What a coincidence, I'm just like you. Lu Yang. The fragrant hot pot is boiling again. Qinzi lay on the rocking chair wrapped in a blanket and drank 2 bottles of blue medicine at the same time to fill up the empty blue bars first. 5 epic skeleton monsters, 12 annihilation archer skeletons, and 130 shadow ghouls are all out at this moment. This is the first wave. When they are all gone, Qinzi will summon the second wave. There are also 2 skills, Great Spell and Giant Undead Cemetery, that are not used. If you haven't fought in the first wave, then use the later abilities. A war between the 2 sides is about to break out. The 5-meter-tall purple skeletons naturally take the lead and act as front-row human shields. They have the power of death and can break through 45% of the opponent's defense. The damage to the long-haired ghoul boss is only slightly less. At the same time, the tactical coordination between them is quite smooth. An epic skeleton monster suddenly jumped up, holding the sword tightly with both hands, raised it above his head, and then slashed down hard. The long-haired ghoul boss didn't try to dodge at all, but instead widened its eyes, with ripples spinning crazily in its eyes. He actually wanted to use illusion to confuse the skeleton monster. People don't even have a brain, so they won't be confused. The sword blade struck the long-haired ghoul boss hard on the back of his head, causing his whole body to stumble downward. -1983. The second epic skeleton monster rushed in with a sliding step, its ribs close to the ground, and then swept the purple striped sword horizontally. The head of the long-haired ghoul boss was immediately knocked to the side. -2003. Subsequent epic skeleton monsters followed one after another, slashing mercilessly with the big sword. -2039. 2045. The destroyed archer skeleton drew the bowstring to its full length, and then the arrows were like a torrent, connected end to end and shot toward the long-haired ghoul boss. 30 arrows hit the same target one after another. -1537. -1489. -1372. The damage is constantly decreasing, but this is the damage dealt within 3 seconds. It is enough to be called a huge output. Shadow ghouls hide in the shadows, cleaning up the nightmare ghouls pouring out from all around. Both sides gnaw at each other. In the end, the nightmare ghoul was defeated. In the exchange company, Lu Xiu, wearing black stockings, sat obediently on the sofa. Manager Lu Guanghua was pacing around the table, looking very agitated. "Tell me, what is your relationship with Qinzi?" Lu Guanghua suddenly stopped and shouted sternly. "It doesn't matter. He is my customer, but I deceived him into buying a 990,000 undead career change gift pack. I feel very sorry now, so I want to compensate him." Lu Xiu sighed. When she thought of Qinzi, she felt like a sinner. What a good kid. In the end, under her influence, he turned to the bad side. HMPH, if the company finds out that you have any special relationship with him, the company has the right to recover all the money you earn, and you will have to pay a large sum of money in the end. Do you understand? Lu Guanghua threatened fiercely. In fact, he had already checked that the 2 of them had indeed met for the first time a few days ago. The 2 sides are really not related, otherwise he would threaten Lu Xiu. Understand? Lu Xiu nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Just when Lu Guanghua was about to wave her away, an idea suddenly came to his mind, so he smiled evilly and said, "Do you know where Qinzi is now?" Lu Xiu was stunned for a moment, and then remembered that she was the one who sent Qinzi to the Black Abyss connection. So he said casually, "It should be in the copy." "Oh, you know all this, but do you know what copy he is in?" "I don't know that." Lu Xiu is not in the professional circle and does not pay attention to some information. He entered the nightmare level dungeon. This brat wants to use this to evade the company's liquidation. Do you succeed or die? He is so naive. When did the company ever lose money? Even if he dies, he will still be sent back in the end. The company owns the rights to his body. Even if it does experiments and research, it still has to get back the final losses. And all the equipment on my body will be returned. Lu Guangwa gritted his teeth and said. As for who hates Qinzi the most now, it is naturally him. Because of Qinzi, he received a lot of scolding. When Lu Xiu heard these vicious words, she clenched her fists subconsciously. This was the most vicious thing she had ever heard in her life. Even the remains of others are not spared. Are they human? The thought of myself actually working for such a company. She felt like her sins were getting worse. But then, she realized the words, nightmare copy, and suddenly froze. I heard that the nightmare copy is very dangerous. It seems that no one dares to go in. Lu Xiu asked blankly. Not only is it dangerous, anyone who enters will die, even if there is no escape. Lu Guangwa saw Lu Xiu finally realizing the problem, his face full of gloating. Understand, when Qinzi comes out again, he has turned into a corpse. Boom. This sentence was like a thunder, resounding through Lu Xiu's mind. She slowly put her hand on her chest, feeling a twinge of angina. In this way, sending him into the black abyss link before was equivalent to sending him to the guillotine with his own hands. Qinzi clearly knew the dangers of installment loans, but he was already prepared. Even if you die in the nightmare copy, don't be a dog to the company. Water mist covered Lu Xiu's eyes, and she could no longer see clearly what was in front of her. At this moment, she felt extremely shocked. It's also sad. In the Nightmare Manor copy, the battlefield is extremely brutal. All kinds of bones and limbs were flying all over the sky. Father, the meatballs here are cooked. They are very fresh and tender. Try them quickly. Lu Yong worked hard in the kitchen and managed the hot pot in an orderly manner. All kinds of vegetables and meats should be put into the pot and taken out. It's delicious. Stop cooking. Eat some now. I can't finish it all. Qinzi's scalp immediately went numb when he saw the food cooked quickly. The efficiency is too high. Hey, you are the main combat force, so of course you have to eat first. Lu Yong smiled and sat down at the table, enjoying a sip. He is very clear about his position. It's just soy sauce and logistics. Therefore, the service must be in place to make Qinzi feel comfortable. In terms of main combat power, it should be given to skeleton monsters, but unfortunately they have no tongue or stomach. Even less sensory. Qinzi shook his head. However, this has also become their advantage. The illusion effect of the long-haired ghoul boss has no effect on them. Moreover, they feel no pain, no fear, and are not afraid of being injured, just like dead soldiers. At the same time, the battlefield of the long-haired ghoul boss has become intense. After several rounds of attacks, the long-haired ghoul boss's blood volume has dropped by more than 50,000, and the remaining blood volume is around 70,000. As the blood volume dropped, the offensive of the long-haired ghoul boss became more and more fierce. As it continued to fight back and fight, it suddenly rushed forward, went around behind the epic skeleton, then opened its bloody mouth and stepped on the spine to bite it fiercely. Down. Click. The vertebrae actually shattered. Minus 3,271. The epic skeleton still wanted to reach out to catch the long-haired ghoul boss, but then his body suddenly collapsed and shattered on the ground. The eye sockets, which were always burning with purple flames, became hollow again. An epic skeleton, pawn. This wave of summons seems to have come to an end. When Qinzi saw this scene, his eyes narrowed slightly. The health of other epic-level skeletons has almost bottomed out. Shadow Ghoul, go up first. Epic skeleton summoning technique, cancelled. Qinzi issued 2 instructions one after another. The shadow ghouls hiding in the darkness are always attacking the mobs that pop up around them. At this time, their combat power is still intact. All 130 of them are still alive. 60 of them immediately separate to face the long-haired ghoul boss. The epic skeletons that were originally quite brave were shattered on the ground one by one. Come out, my skeleton monster. Qinzi raised the magic book in his hand, 5 circles spread out on the ground, and the epic skeleton monster slowly rose. Since the epic skeleton monster is not placed in the upgrade slot, there is no change. They immediately took steps to face the long-haired ghoul boss and started a new round of battle. The long-haired ghoul boss looked at the skeleton monster that appeared with full health, and was obviously stunned. The archer skeleton monster, which has always been in the upgrade position, has finally been promoted. Destroy archer skeleton monster, right pointing arrow, Dark Ranger. Dark Ranger. Hero level summoning. Each summon will fix the unit. As the skill level increases, the strength of the hero will also increase. Summon a hero, Dark Ranger, to fight for you. Duration: 1 day. Mana consumption: 1000 points. Activation requirements: sacrifice 100 units regardless of friend or foe. Chin-Z. After leveling up 5 times, it turned out to be a hero level unit. Heroic summoning. Chin-Z was extremely excited when he saw the new skill introduction. He knew that there are many types of summoners, including beast summoners, human summoners, elf summoners, and even dragon summoners. These subdivided types, summoned objects and fighting methods are also very different, but the only the same and rare thing is the heroic summons. It can be said that hero-level summons are the standard for measuring the strength of a summoner. The hero's growth rate and skill strength are much higher than ordinary summons, even comparable to professionals at the same level. However, it is extremely difficult for a summoner to obtain a hero-level summon. Even if a summoner from a super family, passed down from generation to generation, can possess a hero-level summon, that is a high price. So by doing this, every summoning skill I have will eventually be upgraded to a hero-level summon. Chin-Z couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. To be honest, he himself was scared. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind, and Chin-Z forced himself to calm down. He discovered that the Destruction Archer skeleton summoning technique was not directly upgraded to the Dark Ranger summoning technique but instead had 2 branches, allowing him to choose. One of them is a hero-level route, and the other is a special monster route. Archers of the Dark Thunder Skeleton Tribe, Special Monster Route. The Dark Thunder Skeleton Tribe is a famous undead race with extraordinary combat power and huge racial strength. As the level increases, the number that can be summoned can also increase. Chin-Z glanced at it and quickly understood. Although the Dark Ranger is a hero, the number is limited and only one can be summoned at a time. As for the archers of the Dark Thunder Skeleton family, although they are not at the hero level, there is no limit to their number. If the level is higher, they may be able to summon hundreds or even thousands of them. Each one is not weak in combat power. In the end, when added together, it may not be better than the Dark Ranger. Weak. I want both. I'm so confused. Why are you putting this problem in front of me? Chin-Z pulled his hair, having difficulty making a choice. At this time, Lu Yong suddenly trembled from beside him. Father, the situation has changed. Look, the moon has turned red. The whole night sky seems to be stained with a layer of blood mist. It's so scary. After his reminder, Chin-Z suddenly realized that the red moonlight had dyed the entire world red. Hidden horrors are breaking out. He has no time to worry. It's not this chance. The worst thing is that I can add more skills in installments in the future. Chin-Z bit his teeth and immediately chose Dark Ranger summoning technique. After all, it is a boss, so it needs stronger single-target attack capabilities. Hero-level units are just right for this. The selection is successful. Please sacrifice 100 units regardless of friend or foe and activate the summoning skills. You still want to sacrifice? Chin-Z immediately looked around and saw that the bloody enemy mobs had retreated. Only the long-haired ghoul boss stood among them, looking like a wolf howling at the moon. A strange red light emitted from his body, and even his long black hair turned blood red. 5 epic skeletons are surrounding it, holding up purple patterned swords and slashing continuously. -2037. -2089. -2148. There is no doubt that now is a good opportunity to do damage. But the annoying thing is that the damage they output is not as fast as the blood volume recovery speed of the blood moon. Chin-Z clicked on the shadow ghouls on the field, and there were 101 left, just enough for sacrifice. He suddenly raised the magic book in his hand, and countless dim lights swirled in from all directions. Sacrifice. Like an absorbed soul, the pupils of each shadow ghoul quickly became dull, then fell to the ground with a thud, and then disappeared into a puff of black smoke. Sacrifice +1, sacrifice +1, sacrifice +1, sacrifice +1. Sacrifice 100 100ths. Destroy Archer Skeleton Summoning Technique, Right Pointing Arrow, Dark Ranger Summoning Technique. Dark Ranger Summoning Technique LV.1, Right Pointing Arrow LV.2. Watching the long-haired ghoul boss's blood moon transformation come to an end. Qinzi quickly raised the Book of the Dead in his hand and began to chant. Come out, my Dark Ranger. The next second, a black-purple five-pointed star magic circle appeared spinning on the ground in front. Purple light poured out and formed a sphere. Faintly, a slender and graceful figure appeared among them, carrying an exaggerated giant longbow on its back. The light dissipated and the beauty appeared. The purple leather clothes only covered 3 points, leaving a large area of skin smooth. Smooth and beautiful muscles seemed to contain endless power. She wore a hood-like shawl, hiding her entire face. The eyes are like 2 rubies, emitting scarlet light. My lord. After the Dark Ranger appeared, he knelt on one knee in front of Qinzi, very respectfully. Dark Knight. Hero level. LV.10 cannot exceed summoner level. Basic attributes. Strength 1037, Agility 1589, Intelligence 1205. Skill 1. Blighted Arrow. Each arrow of the Dark Ranger has a withering effect. After hitting the enemy, it can ignore the magic defense and physical defense, spread virally on the enemy's wound, and grow dense red spots. The first damage is 300 points, and over time the elapsed damage continues to increase, eventually reaching 1000 points of damage per second. Treatment and purification are ineffective, and special sacred items are required to remove it. After the enemy dies, the withered flower absorbs all the life essence and will thrive on the corpse. It can independently attack surrounding enemies and release a withered mist. Skill 2. Wither Detonation. Detonates the wither effect in the enemy's body at once, causing 5000 points of real damage and causing an explosion effect. The splashed slurry will cause a weakened version of the wither effect when it hits other enemies. After continuing to spread for 10 seconds, it will grow into a normal version of the wither effect. Skill 3. Charged Cloud Piercing Arrow. Dark Ranger charges for 3 to 10 seconds, compressing varying degrees of dark energy to the extreme, which can reach a range of 3000 to 30,000. The length of the arrow is 1 to 5 meters, causing 3000 to 30,000 piercing damage to the enemy. Skill 4. Petals Flash. After the Dark Ranger senses the surrounding danger, he can flash to any place within 5 meters the perceptible area and scatter withered petals on the spot. If the enemy is contaminated, he will be infected with a weakened version of the withered effect. Introduction. A hunter who walks in the darkness, some big shots hate her to the core. 10 seconds of charging will result in 30,000 damage. There are also basic attributes. What a special code pervert. Qinzi was stunned. The hero attributes are indeed too exaggerated. Without waiting for Qinzi to issue an order, the Dark Ranger targeted the blood-mooned ghoul boss. Those eyes full of aura, without any emotion. She slowly opened the giant longbow in her hand, and dark energy gathered at her fingertips. The Dark Ranger took a bow with his feet, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. The arrows condensed at her fingertips and continued to expand. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The blood-mooned long-haired ghoul boss sensed the approaching danger and immediately began to struggle uneasily. It first blew away the epic skeleton, biting the bones into pieces like steel teeth. Minus 5327. Followed by a claw, the epic skeleton monster will be killed instantly. Minus 3721. The strength of the long-haired ghoul boss has been increased unprecedentedly. Your epic skeleton monster is dead. Your epic skeleton monster is dead. Your epic skeleton monster is dead. The skeleton monster that was just summoned died before it could even warm up. The long-haired ghoul boss suddenly turned its head to look at them, blood-red vortexes spinning in its pupils. Full of terrifying horror. It's looking over here. Liu Yang stepped back in horror, his voice trembling. Don't look into its eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Liu Yang quickly closed his eyes tightly, but the next moment a dazzling purple arc of light flashed in front of his eyelids. What? He opened his eyes and saw the head of the long-haired ghoul boss jerking back, his huge body rolling backwards with inertia, and an arrow pierced through his head. After a brief silence, the blood-red markings quickly expanded, giving the ugly long-haired ghoul boss some beauty. Minus 17,328. 17,000 injuries. You told me this was level 10. Liu Yang's eyes widened and his head was buzzing. Come out, my skeleton. Qinzi raised the magic book in his hand, and 5 epic skeletons crawled out again. Flames ignited in the hollow eye sockets, and he immediately rushed towards the long-haired ghoul boss. They rush over and send it away, but they only need to delay it. This is also the benefit of the monster series. After death, you can continue to summon it until you run out of mana. Dark Ranger charged up the Cloud Piercer arrow again, and a fully charged one came directly. The long-haired ghoul boss couldn't bear such huge force and fell backward several meters. Minus 30,000. Finally, as the long-haired ghoul boss screamed unwillingly, the kill prompt sounded. Congratulations, you successfully killed a long-haired ghoul boss nightmare version and gained experience, 50,000. Obtain. Special prop, Blood Moon. Obtain. Platinum level equipment, Blood Moon Claws. Obtain. Gold level equipment, Scarlet Armor. Obtain. Gold level equipment, Scarlet Necklace. A piece of platinum level equipment was revealed, and the rest were a lot of gold level and silver level equipment. And all of them are level 10. Unfortunately, the Blood Moon Claw is an item that only assassins can equip. Both the basic attributes and equipment skills are very good. This is a top quality assassin equipment. If you sell it, it will definitely be sold like crazy. But level 10 equipment can only make one transition, which is very embarrassing. The price will also be reduced relatively a lot. Platinum level equipment was second best, but what Chinzi was more interested in was the scarlet suit that dropped. Each piece was level 10, and its attributes and skills were also top-notch. It was better than the level 5 he bought from the exchange. I don't know how many times better the gold suit is. Scarlet Armor. Restriction level. LV.10. Restricted occupations. General. Quality. Gold level. Attribute bonus. Strength plus 10, agility plus 10, intelligence plus 10, blood volume plus 1500, recovery of 2 blood volume per second. Skill 1. Blood Pool. The Scarlet Armor automatically stores health points. Killing an enemy can rob 1/10 of the opponent's health points. The upper limit is 100,000 health points. In addition to negative effects such as prohibiting treatment and prohibiting recovery, every time blood is lost, it will be restored instantly until the end. Stored health points are completely depleted. Skill 2. Scarlet Burst. Consuming 500 blood, it can cause 1000 points of damage within a radius of 5 meters to the surrounding area, and cause a knock-up and knock-back effect on the enemy. The more blood it consumes, the stronger the damage caused, and the better the knockback and knockback effect. The damage the upper limit is 7,000 points. Skill 3. Savage Crash. Consumes 100 HP to form a thick blood armor all over the body with shield spikes, which can effectively break up the enemy's siege and cause 513 points of impact damage. The damage to buildings is increased by 200%. Introduction. The existence of a blood cow is that it can resist. Scarlet Cloak. Restriction level. LV.10. Restricted occupations. General. Quality. Gold level. Attribute bonus. Intelligence plus 15, agility plus 15, the body becomes lighter, and you can run along vertical walls to the limit. Skill 1. Elemental Defense. When being attacked by fire, water, thunder and other elements, you can use your cloak to cover yourself in front of you to resist elemental damage. Skill 2. Gliding in the air. Open the cloak in the air to gain the ability to glide, control the height of both ends, and change direction. Skill 3. Scarlet Confinement. Consumes 500 mana to release scarlet power, causing panic, trembling and other negative effects on the enemy, and imprisoning them in place for 0.1 to 3 seconds, depending on the enemy's level and strength. Introduction. Do you want to experience the fun of flying? Scarlet Combat Boots. The basic attributes increase by 20 points of agility and 10 points of intelligence, and can also perform 3 consecutive jumps in the air. The speed is much faster than the takeoff of the Book of the Dead. It can jump at least about 20 meters in 3 steps. Paired with a cloak, the glide is a perfect match. Scarlet Necklace. The basic attributes increase by 20 points of intelligence and 10 points of strength. The main ability is that it can install the Eye of Detection, with a health value of 500 plus. It can independently alert the surroundings, remotely notify the user of any situation, and can also share vision, which is very convenient. Currently only one can be placed, 1/1. Chinzi glanced at the properties of the gold level equipment and immediately changed out of his level 5 suit. Throw all the level 5 equipment into the warehouse to eat ashes. After putting it on, Qinzi's appearance suddenly took on a completely new look. The overall tone is dark red, mysterious and powerful. Lu Yong next to him flashed a white light. He must have successfully upgraded. Although he was just a soy saucer, the experience and rewards he received really made him extremely excited. Comfortable. Qinzi cancelled the summons of all the epic skeletons and shadow ghouls on the scene, leaving only the hot dark ranger beside him. A heroic summoning technique that cannot be summoned repeatedly within a short period of time. Once cancelled, she wouldn't be able to get out. Finally, there is a special prop, the blood moon. He took it in his hand. It was a crystal ball with a blood-red moon floating in it. Blood moon. Special props. Effect. After use, the blood moon will come to the world, the ancient door will open, they will receive you, become their watchdog, gain their power, or die. Introduction. As long as you provide sufficient and delicious blood food, they will give you what you want. So this thing is an offer. Recruiting an open-door dog. The long-haired ghoul boss has a terrifying face filled with arrows. Do watchdogs work well? Live like a human or a ghost or a ghost? Who wants to do it? Qinzi stood in front of the long-haired ghoul boss. Looking at the other party's miserable appearance, he couldn't help but shake his head. Therefore, the plot of the manor copy is very clear. It can be said that all the analyses circulating on the internet are wrong. Because the key information is in the nightmare copy, and they have no way to access it. In general, the long-haired ghoul boss is a broker. In the hope of them at the ancient door, the long-haired ghoul boss reached a deal with this so-called orphanage, providing the children's internal organs for a long time. They, and the dean will receive some huge benefits. This is a horrific human flesh breeding farm. Qinzi's heart trembled, it was too dark and bloody. The previous beetle ghosts with human heads were all managers of the orphanage, responsible for deceiving and controlling these children. Judging from the punishment and torture they suffered, the entire orphanage should have been occupied by the children. Based on the child's strength alone, I'm afraid he won't be able to resist. What happened to make things turn into this situation? Qinzi murmured to himself. He suddenly remembered that after the death of the long-haired ghoul boss, a map of the manor hand-drawn by a child would appear under him, so he summoned an epic skeleton monster and assigned one to search for it. Finally, the 5-meter-tall giant skeleton twisted an A4 paper came to Qinzi. My lord. Qinzi took over the painting, which used black crayon to draw a house, with some crooked roads drawn inside. At the top is a line of text. My best friend, where are you now? Trigger plot mission, my best friend. Task introduction. The children in the orphanage disappeared one after another, and the other children felt very uneasy. The aunt in the dormitory told them that these children had been adopted and were about to live a very good life, so the children turned from uneasiness to expectation. I hope someone will take me out of this gloomy orphanage. Until one day, a child named Zhaofeng found that his best friend was missing. He searched all over the manor and found in front of a hidden stone door that his best friend had been disemboweled. The adults at the orphanage all on sight. He was frightened and ran back crying. The aunt in the dormitory told him that his best friend had been taken away to live a better life. Mission goal. Find Zhaofeng's best friend and bring it to Zhaofeng. Task reward. Experience plus 50,000, a random prop, a random piece of equipment. Qinzi, your best friend has been disemboweled, where can I find it for you? Father, it was too dangerous just now. Hey, how did I trigger the mission, best friend? Lu Yong walked up happily. This time he was promoted to level 6 again. Then, he took a look at the mission introduction and was stunned. What a fool, you're deceiving children to make a profit. Are these people with special codes? He was about to curse angrily, but then suddenly froze. What's wrong? I suddenly thought of a video I had seen before. An up owner once found a place full of dead bones. The slender bones should belong to children. The up owner didn't understand what that place was for, so he posted it to Station B. Now, do you think you will? Well, it's very possible that the child has turned into withered bones. Then what should we do? Should we still complete this task? Do it. Don't forget what my profession is. Qinzi smiled mysteriously. Summoner of the dead. Yes, I work with skeletons. How could I not find his bones? When God begins to bleed, he ceases to be God. People will begin to fight and rebel until they crush him under their feet. Lee's exchange company has always been above the heads of all ordinary professionals, using arrears to force ordinary professionals to sell their futures at a low price. Many people have discovered the problem and feel very unhappy. But life has not yet reached a desperate situation, so they will naturally hold on to the idea of destroying things and live one day at a time, and even tolerate some of the company's transgressive behaviors. Over time, those who dared to resist were regarded as aliens. As if all this is taken for granted, until Qin Zi appeared. He didn't do anything, nor did he rise up to resist. He just made the company suffer a little loss. Especially the announcement that he had entered the Nightmare Dungeon directly aroused the emotions of all professionals. Announcement: Qin Zi's team enters the Nightmare Copy. Countless professionals suddenly realized that they also have the power to say no. I've downloaded so many dungeons, and I have more than a dozen pieces of silver-level equipment. In 3 years, I've earned 50,000 yuan with my special code. It's not as much as ordinary people earn in 3 years. I sell things cheaply, and the things I buy are twice as expensive as those outside. I paid back the principal of 500,000 yuan with interest for 3 years, and I still have 450,000 yuan left with the special code. I quit my job. I was given a special code every day to bring in new people. How could I have time to refresh the dungeon by myself? I was not sensible when I was young and owed 1.3 million in installments. After living frugally for several years, I owe a lot. I still owe an extra 100,000 yuan due to the special code. Sometimes I really want to stab the company leaders and their entire family with a knife. I want to accuse the young master of the Li family. I had just emerged a year ago and my life was bright. However, I went to take the young master of the Li family because I owed installments. I was told that the debt would be wiped out immediately. I thought the world was very complicated at that time. It was wonderful that his right leg was abruptly broken by the young master of the Li family, and his professional career was ruined. Do you know what's the funniest thing? The final medical expenses paid by Li's company were actually deducted from the debt, and in the end I still owed 50,000 yuan. The worst case scenario is that the fish will die and the net will fall apart. You guys in the Li family are the biggest cancer. Qin Zi can enter the Nightmare Copy to resist, so why can't I? Hey, Qin Zi still lives a clear life. He made so much money in crazy installments, and then directly entered the Nightmare Dungeon and successfully scooped up the Li company. This is the first time in my life that I have seen the Li company suffer. Quote, if Qin Zi can successfully clear the Nightmare Copy, no, if he can escape alive, it will definitely be the strongest blow to Li's company. When the time comes, he will be able to overturn Li's arrogance in Linhai City. Quote. Countless professionals who had been cheated were discussing crazily. Qin Zi's appearance undoubtedly brought a glimmer of hope to their gloomy lives. As long as he can come out of the Nightmare Copy alive, everything may change. This world respects strength. They have no strength and can only be bullied by the Li family. But Qin Zi is enough to prove his strength. At the same time, Li's senior executives were drinking coffee leisurely and admiring the excited and painful lower-level professionals. Disdainful of their resistance, paying back debts as a matter of course. A bunch of Luthers who just want to spend money without paying it back. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Countless professionals are eagerly looking forward to Qin Zi's return. He is no longer a person, but a symbol sounding the trumpet of victory. As long as Qin Zi can return, they will follow Qin Zi's footsteps and further resist the squeeze of Li's company. Not to mention erasing all debts, but at least we can remove low-price acquisitions and forced sales. Otherwise, no matter how many times they download the dungeon, the result will be the same. 80% of the profits will be eaten by others. 20% of the profits obtained must be repaid, which is extremely outrageous. At the junction of the Black Abyss, some professionals even set up altars, praying that Qin Zi could come back intact. The enthusiasm is almost beyond words. Naturally, Li's exchange company would not tolerate such a thing happening, and immediately issued various task orders, using the money owed to drive these people to download copies. The professionals were all too honest, so they all followed suit and downloaded dungeons. There is no way, if you want them to resist in their personal capacity, then naturally they will not dare. The day passed quickly. What the professionals hoped for never happened. No one came out, and no body was teleported out. It made people very nervous. There is still a chance. If the body is not transmitted, it means Qinzi is not dead. Hey, it's been a day, and I'm tired of watching it. It's a nightmare dungeon. I've never seen monsters that eat people without spitting out bones. In those nightmare dungeon clearance videos that turn 1 and 2, there are monsters like this walking everywhere. Qinzi, if it is swallowed, it is normal that there is no body. Quote. No, Qinzi just quits when he sees something is not right. He doesn't really want to risk his life inside. Nightmare dungeons are not subject to one's will. You can go in if you want, and come out when you want to. What do you think of a nightmare dungeon? Indeed, a lot of things can be determined in one day. Now we really need a peerless genius to lead everyone through the difficulties and break the Li family's monopoly and oppression. It's really hard to speak without strength. I am a relatively pessimistic person. If Qinzi succeeds, and the Li family lures him with huge sums of money, or even brings him into the family to enjoy the resources of the entire city together, do you think Qinzi will be tempted? As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent. On one side is the royal road paved with gold. On the other side is a difficult road full of thorns. As long as you are a normal person, you will know which one to choose. They discovered that they were still naive. Linhai City, mayor's office. Tang Zhu, who was wearing a white suit, had a serious face and kept tapping the table with his fingers subconsciously. She is currently only level 24, and it is difficult to control the entire Linhai City. But there is no way. Official resources are tight. Her level is considered to be the highest among Linhai City's official teams, but compared with Li's power in Linhai City, it is not enough. There are 37 level professional levelers. Suppressed her by level 13. In this world, strength speaks for itself. Even if she is the mayor, her rank cannot suppress others, so she has no substantial power, and there is no way to compete with others. Moreover, as a super aristocratic family, the Li family can steadily outperform the official group in the central district. If there were not the other 4 super families to check and balance, Li's wolfish ambition would probably bring the entire dragon kingdom back to the feudal system, with their family alone controlling all resources. At this time, the principal sitting below suddenly said, "Today's situation is very serious. The power structure of the dragon kingdom has gradually formed 5 major oligarchies. The official power is being infinitely weakened. The 5 super families are deliberately squeezing out official personnel, and very few high-level dungeon resources have been transferred. It's really hard to say what the future of Dragon Kingdom will be." His expression was very anxious, and his eyes were full of worries about the future of the country. While drastic changes are taking place internally, external threats are also growing. Moreover, he is very aware of the practices of the 5 super aristocratic families, using the most extreme suppression to obtain the nutrients for their own growth. In the end, they will cause everyone to fall into the abyss, including themselves. Hey, we can't control matters at the national level, and it's not our turn to control them. The most critical issue now is the issue in Linhai City. The professionals have been grievances for a long time. Moreover, the Li family is sacrificing the future of all professionals and then grabbing resources to strengthen itself. We must find a way to eradicate this cancer. As soon as these words came out, all the officials present fell silent. They have level 37 professionals and have established a whole system of exploitation. It's even legal and there's no reason to intervene. Use your head to eradicate it. I think the key to breakthrough lies in Qinzi. Principal Shikong was silent for a long time, and then suddenly spoke. Wow, everyone looked at him. The Minister of Human Resources was the first to jump out. I object. Qinzi's talent is only B level, and he is also a summoner of the undead. Our resource supply is not large, so we cannot bet on one person. Yes, even if Qinzi can successfully escape, it will not prove his value unless he can clear the nightmare copy. But this possibility cannot be said to be impossible. It can only be said that it is infinitely close to 0. It's so difficult to break the Li family's monopoly. We need to rely on the power of lower-level professionals. Qinzi is now the one that everyone expects. I think it must be him. Quote. A group of high-level officials began to argue with each other. Mayor Tang Zhu, who had been silent for a long time, sighed deeply. Everyone, Please stop for a moment. I have decided to mobilize all resources and put them all on Qinzi. He is now popular among the people, and the power he can mobilize is unimaginable. But only if he can make it out alive. In Nightmare Manor, Qinzi still didn't know that he had been welcomed by everyone. I remember that the corpse burial point is right in front. The environment of the Nightmare level copy has changed, but the most important position should not have changed. Liu Yang's eyes scanned around, looking for the place in the video. There's no need to look for it. Let's see if it's the ancient door in the introduction. Qinzi patted his shoulder, which frightened him immediately. Ancient door, a place dedicated to kidneys. Liu Yang looked in the direction where Qinzi pointed, and there was indeed a door hidden among the dead branches in the night. This bustling pattern was engraved on it, giving people a sense of cult horror. Ancient door, a terrifying unknown existence is sealed inside. The two of them had a tacit understanding and did not try to commit suicide by leaning on each other. Instead, he searched nearby. The corpse pit must be around. Here it is, found it. I asked why it was so hard to find. It turned out to be overgrown with weeds. Liu Yang pointed to an open space and shouted excitedly. Qinzi nodded, raised the Book of the Dead in his hand, and began to chant. Spread it, Cemetery of the Dead. A huge wave of light rushed in all directions. Everywhere they passed, tombstones emerged from the soil, marking the identities of these nameless corpses. They were all children, and their deaths were horrific. Spread it, Cemetery of the Dead. Tombstones were drilled out of the soil, with the names of the deceased and other information engraved on them. Immediately afterwards, tiny hand bones popped out of the soil, and incomplete little skeletons crawled out one after another. Some skulls were severely injured and a large piece was deeply dented. Some have broken legs and can only stand jumping up and down, possibly falling apart at any time. The other 12 ribs were all broken, and it looked like a big hole was opened in the middle. These little skeletons seemed not to realize their fate yet. Their empty eye sockets were shining with light, showing innocence and curiosity. They looked at Qinzi and Liu Yang one after another. Such a ghastly and horrifying scene directly caught Liu Yang off his guard. I can't bear to look at it, it's so heartbreaking. It's hard to imagine what happened to them during their lifetime. Qinzi also sighed. The reason why these children can turn into skeletons and stand up again is because their souls have not left yet. Let's help them free themselves and get back on track as soon as possible. However, this is a nightmare copy, an infinite loop, so what we see and feel may not necessarily be real, but may also be images from history. After all, when other players come in, everything we change will be reset. Quote, well, there are too many injustices in the world, and we can't change anything. Liu Yang took a deep breath and thought of his parents who had just returned home when he was a child, hanging from the ceiling. Those 4 feet dangling were something he would never forget in his life. But he couldn't change, and he couldn't even pay off the debt left by his parents. The father's debt is repaid by the son. Qinzi was silent, and then asked, which of you is Zhaofeng's best friend? One of the small skeletons with broken ribs raised its skeleton arm reflexively. It turns out it's you. Come with us, we'll take you to meet your best friend, Zhaofeng. Qinzi waved to him, and the little skeleton with a broken chest ran over excitedly. During this period, he fell twice on the ground, and his head fell off. It rolled around on the ground twice, and it quickly picked up the head and put it on its neck. Zhaofeng's best friend. Mission NPC. Level. LV.1. HP. 500. Basic attributes. Strength 10, Agility 10, Intelligence 10. Skill. None. Introduction. Ordinary little skeleton. Let's go to the manor. Qinzi patted its little head, and then ordered an epic skeleton to lift the little skeleton up and place it in his empty chest, which could not only protect it, but also move quickly. On the way to the manor, no powerful monster appeared. An unknown monster that was secretly watching did not cause any trouble. To be honest, they didn't care what became of Zhaofeng's friends. The manor villa hidden in the dark night finally appeared in front of you. In the 3-story small foreign-style building, all the windows are dark and the 2 doors are closed in front of you. This should be the final venue for the nightmare copy, right? Liu Yang's voice was trembling. Probably, once you pass this level, you should be able to go back. Qinzi said, taking out the manor key from the warehouse and inserting it into the giant lock. Click. As the locks unfolded, the giant door opened with a creaking sound. Countless dust filled the room. Here is a hall, very spacious, with a magnificent arched staircase in the middle, gorgeous chandeliers hanging from above, and Roman columns scattered around. The 5-meter-tall epic skeleton lowered its head and walked in, barely able to move. Qinzi walked in surrounded by skeleton monsters, frowning and looking at the dusty hall. Suddenly, a hoarse and unpleasant sound came from the arched staircase in front. Outsiders, you are welcome. I am the owner of this manor. Help me, you can choose a generous reward, wealth, power, or a beautiful woman. Qinzi, Lu Yang, are you still negotiating a deal with us? It's good if I don't kill you with a knife. But a selection box actually popped up in front of their eyes. Trigger the main quest. The Immortal Manor Lord. Wealth, power, beautiful woman. Note, choosing one option means giving up the best friend task. Qinzi and Lu Yang looked at each other and then both smiled. We choose to give up. Sometimes the position cannot be shaken. Even the manor owner's mission rewards seem to be richer. Despicable outsider, how dare you refuse my kindness? You greedy reptiles, each and every one of you dare to disobey me. Die. The manor owner's voice suddenly became bitter, as if the whole world owed him something. Immediately afterwards, howls sounded from all directions, and there was a clanging sound. What's the bee movement? Lao Dengxi has quite a lot of tricks. Lu Yang did not feel scared, but cursed angrily. After witnessing the tragedy in the manor, no one would feel good about it. The banging sound lasted for several seconds before the real owner slowly appeared. He was a 2-meter-tall soldier wearing armor. His movements were stiff, and his body was covered with disgusting substances similar to blood vessels. These blood vessels also had eyeballs on them that kept spinning. Come and go. It is these blood vessels that should control the movements of these soldiers. Tainted Soldier. Nightmare level monster. Level. LV.10. HP. 25,000. Basic attributes. Strength 1023, Agility 178, Intelligence 32. Skill 1. Pollution Power. The contaminated soldiers have strange powers. The attack can be completed in an instant and cause 2 to 5 times the critical damage. At the same time, the recovery ability increases to 10 points per second. When the body is touched, there is a high probability of contaminating ordinary soldiers, living things, and are controlled by the same will. Introduction. Poor soldiers, they don't know what happened until they die. Although this monster only has one skill, it is more difficult than any other monster. Come out, my shadow ghoul. 130 shadow ghouls quickly crawled out of the surrounding air. They just have the effect of delaying time. When it comes to killing monsters, you have to look at Dark Ranger. At the same time, Qinzi removed the Dark Ranger from the system upgrade slot, and then put the Epic Skeleton Summoning Technique on it. The Dark Ranger cannot be summoned repeatedly, so it is better to upgrade the Epic Skeleton. A war between the two sides is about to break out. It's rest time again, let's find a place to lie down. Qinzi stretched and then took out the recliner from the warehouse. Boss battles need to be directed, this kind of fish battles are just a waste of time. Father, you must be thirsty after walking such a long way. Cold happy water, let's have a can first. Bang bang bang. The infected soldiers walked stiffly, as if their knees would not bend. Each one is more abstract than the skeleton monster. But the epic skeleton monster strode up, raised the big sword in his hand high and slashed down. The opponent's counterattack and block speed was incredibly fast. The bright silver sword pulled out an afterimage in the air, and then hit the purple sword hard. Tattoo on the sword. Clang. Countless firelights splashed out. The huge body of the epic skeleton monster took a few steps back, and a crack appeared in the middle of the purple patterned sword. -1279. The infected soldier was unsteady and fell to the ground due to stiffness, and his bright silver sword broke directly. -1784. The two sides fought each other once, and the epic skeleton monster only had a slight upper hand. The next second, the giant black arrow spun and rushed straight, passing by the epic skeleton monster. A sharp whistle was released all the way. The infected soldier was getting up stiffly. As soon as he raised his head, a giant black arrow penetrated its head, splattering bloody red juice. The huge force carried it and flew all the way to the rear. After passing through 2 infected soldiers, he was nailed to the wall. Minus 30,000. Minus 20,194. Minus 15,329. The power is constantly declining, but it is still enough to kill infected soldiers. Congratulations, you successfully killed an infected soldier, gained experience, 200, increased blood pool content, 2,500. Congratulations, you successfully killed an infected soldier, gained experience, 200, increased blood pool content, 2,500. It has to be the Dark Ranger. The efficiency of a single-second monster is too high. Qinzi took a sip of the steaming hot coffee. The only pity is that the release speed of the charged arrow is too slow. It takes a full 10 seconds to save up. So I can only grind it slowly. Father, the owner of the manor just now should be the director of the orphanage. Everyone else has turned into beetle ghosts and been tortured. Why is he the only one who is fine? Lu Yong was grinding coffee by hand and asked doubtfully. This dean should be the beneficiary of the orphanage incident, that is, the ancient door gave him some feedback. Even if the kid brother successfully turns black, it will be difficult to fight with the dean. The two sides are currently evenly matched opponents, and they are in a stalemate in the manor. That's why we are given the choice of who to support. Qinzi relied on more than 10 years of gaming experience to give a reasonable analysis. So, we should find brother kid now and help him break the balance. Children can be taught. Qinzi smiled slightly, and then took out the A4 paper with a crooked road drawn on it. It looks very simple, but the information is very comprehensive. Deep in the corridor on the first floor, there is a circle with an arrow pulled out from it, which reads, I, Xiao Feng. Other places are marked with circles and arrows. Kitchen can go, basement danger, dean's room on the second floor danger, toy room can go, experimental anatomy room extremely dangerous. This should be the children's dormitory. Zhao Feng is here. There should be rewards in other areas you can go to. We are only pursuing customs clearance now, and we don't want to think about other rewards for the time being. What do you think? Qinzi pointed to the hand-drawn map and asked Lu Yong for his opinion. Of course I agree with both hands and feet. The nightmare dungeon is really scary. I'm always on tenterhooks now. It's hard to imagine what the nightmare difficulty of high-level dungeons will be like. Well, actually there is a trick to this nightmare dungeon. If you know that you have to choose between the two camps from the beginning, you can avoid most of the battles and directly choose to go to Zhaofeng or surrender to the Dean, thereby obtaining the dungeon NPC. Quote, yes, if we climb in through the window and sneak in, we can avoid the battle we are currently having. That's right, but now we have to kill monsters and upgrade. As soon as he finished speaking, Qinzi's body suddenly flashed with white light. Upgraded. Congratulations, you have been upgraded to LV.11, all attributes +1, free attributes +4, blood volume +500, mana volume +100. High levels have a natural suppression effect on low levels, and the numerical performance is greatly reduced. Even if it's one level lower, the suppression effect is still very strong. I finally upgraded. After level 10, it becomes more and more difficult. Qinzi couldn't help but sigh that Lu Zi next to him had risen to 5 or 6 levels just by gaining experience. And he has risen 2 levels since he entered the dungeon. In fact, in addition to these 2 possibilities, there is a third possibility. I don't need the help of any dungeon NPC, I will just use absolute power to kill you all. This epic skeleton monster upgrades once every second, and has finally reached the crossroads of advancement. Epic level skeleton monster LV, Max, can be promoted. Please choose promotion route, hero level route, special monster route. Heroic route, Red Skull melee hero. Special monster route, Thunder Skeleton Warrior. Red Skull. Qinzi frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. Even though he couldn't see the specific promotion information, he could vaguely perceive something through the options. The Red Skull is a melee hero riding a flaming skull horse. He is good at charging and breaking through the enemy's defenses. His attack attributes are much higher than his defense attributes. If placed in a normal battle, the Red Skull will definitely be able to produce good output, at least not will be weaker than Dark Ranger. But, to put it bluntly, the Red Skull is a master of torture. For opponents of the same level or with weaker abilities, it can kill the opponent on their backs. It strikes much harder than the Dark Ranger, and its torture efficiency is extremely high. If he encounters the nightmare copy that Shinzi is challenging now, he will have to give up his game. Not to mention the strenuous killing, and rush into the enemy's hinterland, there is a high probability that he will be defeated. The attributes of the Thunder Skeleton warriors are relatively mediocre, but they can summon hundreds or thousands of them. It is a very good choice to resist damage in the front row, ensuring that the Dark Ranger outputs from the back. After careful consideration, Shinzi finally decided to choose the special monster route. No matter how you say it, the Thunder Skeleton clan is also a large race of skeletons. It has appeared twice. If you don't choose it, you won't come again. I choose the Thunder Skeleton clan. Choose successfully. Epic Skeleton Monster, right pointing arrow, Thunder Skeleton Warrior. Thunder Skeleton Warrior LV.1. Summon ordinary warriors from the Thunder Skeleton clan to fight for you. Duration is 1 day, mana consumption, 300 points. LV.1 right pointing arrow LV.2. LV.2 right pointing arrow LV.3. Thunder Skeleton Warrior LV.30. Summons senior warriors from the Thunder Skeleton clan to fight for you. Duration is 1 day, mana consumption, 300 points. As the level increases, the strength of the summoning spell also increases crazily. Shinzi waited silently until all the epic skeletons were defeated and the shadow ghouls were dead and wounded. Then he slowly raised the magic book in his hand. Come out, my Thunder Skeleton. Father, the monsters are closing the circle. How about we exit the manor? Lu Yong looked pale at the infected soldiers walking slowly. The invisible pressure almost made it impossible for him to breathe. Although they move very slowly, their attacks are very sharp. Each slash can throw out a large amount of sparks, which even the big purple skeleton can't hold back. It can range from a broken sword to a broken bone, or it can fall apart completely. The performance of shadow ghouls is even more tragic. They mainly have agility attributes, and their advantages are flexibility and fast movement speed. According to common sense, flexible attack methods can reduce the dimensionality of slow-moving infected soldiers, and can manipulate the opponent in the palm of your hand. But in fact, it's not. The shadow ghoul is the worst. They hide in the shadows and release their proud speed. At the same time, they showed enough respect to their opponents, going around behind the infected soldiers to avoid the sharp edge of the silver swords, and then pounced on them and dealt a heavy blow. There are thick blood vessels growing on the silver armor, and the protruding eyeballs on it are staring at them. He actually saw through their movements in the shadows. The moment the shadow ghoul revealed its claws, the infected soldier suddenly turned around and struck at them with lightning speed. Minus 4,738. Terrifying damage values suddenly appeared. Before the shadow ghoul could scream, a huge gash was opened in the middle of its body, its health bar was emptied, and its body turned into black smoke and dispersed toward the rear. Pawn. Shinzi felt the resentment of the shadow ghoul and said with a chuckle. When I raise the level of the Thunder Skeleton clan, I will hook you up to raise the level. One day, you can get your place back. With Shinzi's promise, the resentment of the shadow ghoul dissipated in the air. Shinzi has a B-level talent resonance crystal. Upgrading 3 skills means upgrading all skills. He had no reason not to upgrade. Father and foster father, what should we do? It seems like all your ghouls are going to be wiped out too. Lu Yang's face was full of panic, and he didn't want to eat the hot pot. Don't worry yet, I still have a trump card. Still, do you still have a trump card? Father, do you want to keep it safe? Certainly. Shinzi raised the Book of the Dead in his hand. 1 second after chanting, terrifying thunder appeared around him, twisting like a giant snake. Holy shit, what's going on? Father, are you going to ascend to transcend the tribulation? Lu Yong looked around in shock. A powerful and arrogant aura is brewing among the thunder. The summoning array composed of thunder appeared spinning under the feet, and at the same time, the top of the head also expanded. A sternum flashing with plasma slowly fell down, suspended in the thunder and lightning. Immediately afterwards, the majestic skull popped out from above, and the limb bones popped out of the gap, forming a large skeleton 3 meters high. Each one is spitting out thunder and lightning, with terrifying momentum. The deep eye sockets are filled with countless tiny electric lights, adding a touch of divinity to the skeleton monster. Ordinary warriors of the Thunder Skeleton Clan. Special summon. Level. LV.11 cannot exceed summoner level. HP. 34,000. Attributes. Strength 1237, Agility 832, Intelligence 327. Skill 1. Thunder Energy. The Thunder Skeleton Clan was born in the Forbidden Thunder Pool. Every inch of the bones contains thunder energy. After the thunder state is fully turned on, the blood volume is plus 50%, the size is doubled, the thunder energy is released independently, all attributes are increased by 20%, and all skills are transformed. It is a super thunder state, gaining stronger combat power, lasting for 1 hour, and falling into a weak state after the end. Skill 2. Thunder Trample. The Thunder Skeleton leaps high, raising the thunder energy to its peak and releasing it all at once, causing 4,327 points of thunder damage. All enemies within a radius of 10 meters will suffer negative effects such as paralysis, dizziness, and fainting. Skill 3. Thunder Armor. The Thunder Skeleton uses ancestral secrets to activate thunder energy, forming thunder armor all over its body, increasing its own defense by 30%, slowing down the attack speed of flying objects around it, and paralyzing and controlling enemies around it. Introduction. The most common warrior of the Thunder Clan. A total of 20 ordinary warriors of the Thunder Skeleton Clan appeared. The body size is only 3 meters, which is much smaller than the 5-meter-tall epic skeleton. But their combat power is much higher, and their bone strength is also abnormal. The air was filled with tiny flashes of lightning. Gives people a tingling feeling. This is a powerful magnetic field composed of 20 thunder skeletons, which can freely induce any thunder. However, the thunder energy flows in their bodies, and they need to transform if they want to release it. After 20 thunder skeletons slowly landed on the ground, their electric eye sockets immediately locked onto the surrounding enemies, then they strode up, clenched their fists and flashed the lightning, and hammered them hard. The infected soldier's face covered with blood vessels was illuminated brightly, and the eyes attached to the blood vessels stared at the thunder skeleton. They quickly waved their bright silver swords and faced the fists that flashed with thunder. When the two sides were about to collide, tiny electric lights flashed crazily in the air. The infected soldier's silver sword seemed to have been cut into a quagmire, and his speed immediately slowed down. The flashing bone fist missed the bright silver sword, and then hit the infected soldier hard on the head. Chi-chi. A big crater was made directly on its face, and countless scarlet liquid splashed out. The infected soldier flew backwards and scratched several meters along the ground. Minus 3,274. The thunder skeleton looked at it indifferently and did not pursue it. Instead, he stood there and defended other infected soldiers who were walking stiffly. Call out. The giant black arrow shot through the air and instantly penetrated the head of the infected soldier. The huge inertia carried it flying backwards. Several infected soldiers were also seriously injured. Minus 30,000. Minus 25,238. Minus 15,043. The terrifying damage value quickly floated out. When it comes to damage output, you still have to look at the Dark Ranger. Thunder Skeleton and Dark Ranger each perform their duties. The damage resistance is the damage resistance, and the output is the output. This is the most efficient way to spawn monsters. Congratulations, you killed an infected soldier, gained experience, 210 points, blood pool content plus 2,500. Congratulations, you killed an infected soldier, gained experience, 215 points, blood pool content plus 2,500. Congratulations, you killed an infected soldier, gained experience, 230 points, blood pool content plus 2,500. As the infected soldiers died, the defense circle continued to expand. Qin Zi's experience value is also rising, reaching 20% soon. This is too fierce. Liu Yang was stunned the whole time. The disadvantages were already obvious, but a brand new skeleton monster appeared and reversed everything in an instant. This is not a summoned object, it is clearly a powerful boss. The kind that hundreds of professionals work together to defeat. He looked at Qin Zi and couldn't help but speak. Qin Zi was the first to interrupt. Don't ask, asking is the secret. No, I just want to shout 2 words. Liu Yang was categorical. Father. In the hall on the first floor of the manor, the infected soldier fell in the dust. The silver armor became dim. In the end, it rotted into a pile on the ground like rotten food. Manor owner, what kind of power did you get to make people do this? Lu Yong looked at the soldiers lying on the ground with both horror and curiosity in his heart. Have no idea. Let's go over and take a look and we'll find out. Qinzi took a look at his experience panel, which had risen to 50%. If there is another wave of monsters, you can upgrade. He also noticed that the closer to the boss monster, the higher the intensity. Ah, come over and take a look. Why don't we go find Brother Kid to hand in the mission? Lu Yong was very surprised. I think pushing down the boss will give you more experience and rewards. The Black Abyss dungeon will dynamically adjust the difficulty and rewards as the combat power of the professionals changes. If Zhaofeng is allowed to join in, our experience will be at least cut it in half and the reward will be even less. We've come this far, aren't we, just for experience and rewards? Qinzi stood up calmly, and the taller Dark Ranger picked up his long bow and followed closely. The 20 Thunder Skeleton warriors around them also tightened their protective circle. The combat discipline is still very good. Oh ah! Lu Yang's eyes widened. There was so much noise that he didn't even know how to vomit. Are you afraid that the NPC is too strong and will steal your experience and rewards? Yes, that's it. In comparison to having strong combat power, I prefer to bring a towing oil bottle, so that the experience and rewards will be higher. Lu Yang, I suspect you are connoting me. But there is no evidence. The infected soldiers turned into a pile on the ground. The manor instantly became much quieter. The owner of the manor no longer showed his face, seeming to be thinking about the threat to him from the coming man's fighting power. Let's go straight here. The master bedroom of the manor on the second floor. Let's go in and dominate the manor. Qinzi pointed to the other end of the crooked line. That is, Zhaofeng specially drew a circle with a red pen, the dean's bedroom, and marked the words, extreme danger. Okay, Lu Yang swallowed. Anyway, I'm just a soy sauce guy. I'll just follow your arrangements. Okay, let's kill the dean directly, then go to Zhaofeng and hand over the task. Everything is done. Qinzi smiled and said, it can be said that I have obtained the first nightmare clearance record. Nightmare clearance record. Lu Yang's eyes lit up and he joked. We are really fierce. Qinzi. Subsequently, Qinzi gathered his undead army, 20 Thunder Skeletons and a Dark Ranger. The summoning technique of the Thunder Skeleton clan has just been promoted and is in urgent need of skill levels to increase combat power. Shadow Ghoul summoning technique, I have to endure it for a while. Lu Yang cleaned up the hot pot scene and packed and sealed the uneaten food. Can't waste it. Qinzi led his troops directly up the gorgeous arched staircase to the second floor. When they arrived at the corridor on the second floor, ferocious blood vessels were found all over the walls, stretching all the way to the end. Like a living creature, it opens and closes, making people's skin crawl. WTF, Lu Yang felt a chill coming from his body. Is this so-called Dean from the devil? We'll find out if we continue to see. Qinzi frowned and walked forward step by step under the protection of the large army. During this period, I did not encounter any monsters. But as they moved forward, the ferocious blood vessels on the wall trembled more violently. Listen quickly, do you hear anything? Qinzi suddenly stopped and listened. Is there a sound? Lu Yang was startled, and then listened carefully. It sounds like a drum. No, that's the sound of a heartbeat. Some monster is being gestated. Lu Yang's expression changed instantly. What monster's heartbeat can beat like a drum and even spread throughout the building? Keep going. The heartbeat is getting louder and stronger. Lu Yang covered his chest, feeling that the other person's heartbeat was affecting his own heart. Very uncomfortable. -57. -63. -69. The number of blood volume deduction appeared above his head. The sound of his heartbeat alone was too much for him to bear. Lu Yang panicked instantly and quickly took out the red medicine bottle and poured it into his mouth. +100, +100, +100. This is too exaggerated. I will be shocked to death by the boss's heartbeat. How outrageous. Lu Yang complained while drinking the red medicine bottle. Fortunately, he had bought 50 bottles of red medicine in one go just to grind the ghoul to death. Unexpectedly, it now became the key to avoid being shocked to death by the boss's heartbeat. Qinzi clutched his chest, feeling a little uncomfortable as well, but in much better condition than Lu Yang. There was no blood loss. The Thunder Skeleton and Dark Ranger next to them were completely unaffected. How about we just destroy the blood vessels on the wall? The boss will probably be very angry. Quote. The Thunder Skeleton warrior drew out a captured silver sword, and the lightning flashing from his hand bone extended along the sword's edge. Finally gathered on the tip of the sword. Chi-chi. The sword edge carried an electric arc and suddenly sank into the veins of the wall. Countless red juices burst out instantly. Minus 3,271. With explosive juice. Liu Yang couldn't help but complain. Don't get splashed by these things, be careful of infection. This thing is so evil. Before Qin Zi finished speaking, the taller Dark Ranger walked up to him. She actually used her delicate body to help him block the infection. The Thunder Skeleton clan and the Dark Rangers have very high bloodlines, so naturally they are not afraid of contamination. Ouch! Screams of pain immediately sounded from deep in the corridor. The blood vessels in the wall also contracted violently, as if feeling pain. Qin Zi recognized this voice, it was the voice of the previous dean. At the same time, he realized that if he chose the dean's camp and truly believed what it said, he would probably die in the end. It seems that you can choose from both camps in the Nightmare Dungeon, but the dean's camp is too evil, and you may die if you choose it. The least severe is infection. Looks like we did the right thing. Keep going. The manor villa began to shake, and the dean was obviously panicked. They continued walking and finally came to the red circle marked by the children's drawings. This is the core, where all blood vessels come from all directions and converge in the door. No, it should be that all blood vessels emanate from inside. Dong 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 dong. A strong heartbeat was heard from the room. It was also accompanied by violent breathing. It's finally time to face the final boss battle. Are you ready? Qin Zi took a deep breath to calm down. Liu Yang was drinking red medicine beside him, and he smiled bitterly when he heard Qin Zi's words. What preparations should I make? Can you sprinkle some cumin on it to increase the taste? Chapter 31. Are you ready? Going in. Qin Zi took a deep breath to calm down his nervous mood. Liu Yang wanted to complain, but he was ready to use it. He's a real thigh piece now. However, when the words came to his lips, he changed into something else. Father, don't worry about me, just go ahead and have fun. Quote. Qin Zi first ordered the Thunder Skeleton warriors to destroy all the blood vessels gathered outside. Minus 3,278. Minus 3,320. Minus 3,427. Every time you insert the silver sword into it, the damage value will appear. This means that the blood vessel is connected to the final boss. It would also be good to get some blood volume first. Don't even think about killing the nightmare boss instantly after entering. The best thing that can happen is to stay in a stalemate. When the blood vessels were destroyed, the howling in the room continued. It seemed like he was about to rush out and tear him apart at any moment, but he was restrained by something and couldn't get out. Qin Zi nodded to Liu Yang, and then let the Thunder Skeleton go in to explore the way. After no blood loss occurred, he also entered the room. The old man in front of him made his pupils shrink. The old man was wearing a respirator and was shivering as he walked on the ground paved with blood vessels. In the center of the room, there is a large cocoon of flesh that is constantly trembling. All blood vessels spread out from it, including the terrifying heartbeat. It seems that some kind of creature is being nurtured, but it has not yet hatched. Demonized flesh cocoon that has not yet hatched. Nightmare boss. Level. LV.10. HP. 200,000. Attributes. Strength 1000, Agility 1000, Intelligence 1000. Skill 1. Hatching. After hatching, a new form will be obtained. The remaining time of hatching is 1 minute and 32 seconds. Qin Zi narrowed his eyes slightly, and there was still 1.5 minutes left to hatch. Fortunately, I came directly. If you go to find Zhaofeng, you will probably face a formed boss. Child, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. You'll be fine soon. At that time, everyone will kneel before you. The old man did not look at Qin Zi and the two who rushed in, but came to the front of the big flesh cocoon. His face with the respirator showed affection, and he stretched out his hand with the IV inserted and kept stroking the big flesh cocoon. Is this their gift to you? Qin Zi asked with a frown. Yes, what a perfect work of art. That's why you vulgar villagers only know how to destroy. Chinzi, why is this old bidden scolding people? Is this your son here? Is he terminally ill? Of course, I helped him enter a higher life form, and he will be grateful for my decision in the future. So, your son is healthy. The old man didn't answer, but it could be seen from his expression that this was indeed the case. That's okay. Chinzi thought it was the classic plot of an evil experiment conducted to save his son. He waved his hand and immediately began to attack. There is still more than 1 minute left, try to explode this big meat cocoon. 20 thunder skeleton monsters, with thunder armor appearing on their bodies, immediately pressed forward side by side. The air is filled with arcs of electricity, continuously suppressing the enemy. The old man trembled from time to time, which seemed to be due to severe electric shock. However, even though he was obviously weak, he never fell. The taller Dark Ranger took off her long bow, lunged on the ground, and fully pulled the bowstring. Dark energy quickly condensed at her fingertips, and the energy arrows became larger and larger. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. No. You vulgar savages want to destroy my art. I will never allow it. The old man screamed loudly, his pupils glowing scarlet. The ferocious blood vessels all over the surrounding walls actually trembled. Kill this old man first. Something's wrong with him. Chinzi immediately ordered. Director of Orphanage. Nightmare Boss. HP, 30,000. Attributes. Strength 132, Agility 71, Intelligence 297. Skill 1. Demonic Seed. One of the gifts given by them is the power of immortality in demonized body. By collecting high-level materials for fusion sacrifices, one can obtain a demonized body for oneself or others. Skill 2. Demonic Control. All demonized monsters made by himself can be controlled by him. Skill 3. Loss of Control. There is a chance that the demon will lose control and become a monster that only knows how to kill. The director can remotely terminate and recover it. Introduction. Are their gifts a blessing or a curse? The Dark Ranger fully drew the bowstring and immediately turned the arrow to aim at the old man's head. Then suddenly released. A sound broke through the air, hitting the old man's head hard. Minus 30,000. The old man's head tilted back, and his body seemed to be folded behind him. It didn't even fly out upside down. Yes, hit me, don't hit my child. The dean straightened up again and was still alive even after his blood was drained. Instead, he shouted with excitement. You won't die even if your health is empty. Liu Yangren were all dumbfounded. It should be his skill. The demonic seed gives him the ability to be reborn and immortal. You see his blood volume is starting to recover. Chinzi narrowed his eyes slightly. It is indeed a nightmare boss, but it is difficult. It's really rising. The dean's blood volume started to rise sharply from 0 o'clock, reaching more than 700 blood volume in the blink of an eye. At this time, the bright silver sword thrust out suddenly and pierced the dean's chest. Minus 3,284. The damage value rises, directly reducing the dean's health to a negative number. But the dean still survived, and his blood volume began to recover from a negative number. First to 0, then to a positive number. How outrageous, this thing. Chinzi felt a chill when he saw this scene. Father, shall we still fight? Liu Yang was even more scared at this time. Beat. Kill him. All firepower was directed towards the demonized flesh cocoon. The total blood volume is 200,000, which is actually not much. Dark Ranger can cause 30,000 penetration damage after 10 seconds of charging. In total, it only takes 70 seconds to break the demonized flesh cocoon. There is no reincarnation or immortality in the demonized flesh cocoon, the blood volume can be cleared directly. The Dark Ranger's output is very high, but it is very fragile after being charged for 10 seconds and needs layers of protection. Call out. The sound of breaking through the air erupted, and the black arrowhead suddenly sank into the demonized flesh cocoon. Minus 30,000. Screams of pain immediately sounded from it. No, you hit me. Never hit my child. The dean screamed sadly, then opened his arms and stood in front like an eagle protecting its young. The arrow, which had been charged for 10 seconds, burst out again. It also penetrated the dean's chest and sank into the demonized flesh cocoon behind. minus 30,000, minus 25,394. The damage is decreasing, it's over. Qinzi's pupils shrank sharply, and the demonized flesh cocoon was just within 70 seconds. But after the damage decreases, it won't drop for a second now. Come out, my ghoul. 130 shadow ghouls crawled in from windows and doors along the walls. Attacks started from all directions. Spread it, cemetery of the dead. Destruction, great spell. Qinzi couldn't take care of that much, and used all his damage skills to attack him. Spread it, cemetery of the dead. The undead air wave centered on Qinzi and spread out in all directions. Wherever he passed, the tombs bulged one by one, and tombstones grew out of them. The original cult scene composed of scarlet blood vessels instantly turned into a gloomy scene dominated by the undead. One thing to say, even if the ground is full of graves, it is much fresher than blood vessels everywhere. The undead probably never expected that they would also have a refreshing day. It all depends on peers. After the home field is changed to the cemetery of the undead, the movement speed and attack speed of both skeletons and ghouls have been greatly increased. The higher the strength of the unit, the weaker the bonus coefficient. Thunder skeletons increase by 50%, ghouls increase by 100%. The Dark Ranger also has a bonus, but the Dark Charged Arrow still takes 10 seconds. The Thunder Skeleton warriors always stick to their own defensive circle to protect the core Qinzi and Dark Ranger. The Shadow Ghoul mainly attacked, gnawing and scratching at the demonized flesh cocoon, but the damage caused was not satisfactory. Minus 574. Minus 589. Minus 603. Their strength gradually lags behind, and their damage is also blocked. If you are a level 10 professional, the damage caused now is in the 200 to 300 range. Occasionally, there is a set of top-quality equipment, and all aspects are well cultivated, and the damage that can be caused is in the range of 500 to 1000. This still depends on the occupation. For example, an assassin who pursues extreme damage is very likely to deal 1000 damage. Call out. Dark Ranger fired another fully charged arrow. Minus 30,000. Minus 25,748. There were several arrows inserted into the Dean's body, but even if he did not die, his health would be reduced by tens of thousands. Great spell. Qinzi raised the magic book and read loudly. This is a range-based spell that damages the enemy and restores oneself. The damage is 300 points per second, not much, just enough to see. But it restores 100 health mana per second, which is still very good. The disadvantage is obvious, that is, it cannot move and will be interrupted if attacked. 300, minus 300, minus 300, minus 300. Plus 100, plus 100, plus 100, plus 100. One goes down and the other goes up. Qinzi feels great. Soon, a minute passed, and the demonized flesh cocoon's health had bottomed out, with only 15,324 health left. The Dark Ranger can charge up for another 5 seconds, plus the ghoul's finishing blow, and he can kill the boss in front of him. Then everything can come to an end. The most important thing is that the information panel of the demonized meat cocoon shows that it has 10 seconds to start hatching. During this period of time, I can kill it no matter what. Suddenly, the Dean who was crucified on top turned his head, his eyes bloodshot, and said viciously, "You all deserve to die. I want you to compensate me for my perfect body." What? Liu Yanggren was dumbfounded. This guy sacrificed his own son and then took over the demonized body. It depends on the situation. This old Baidong really deserves to die. Qinzi spat. At this time, the Dean, who looked like he was exhausted, stretched out his hands with the intravenous drip inserted, and forcefully opened the outer wall of the demonized flesh cocoon. His whole body tremblingly squeezed in, and he stretched out his hands as if to pinch something inside. The demonized flesh cocoon began to tremble, followed by the sound of suffocation and struggling. "I am not a human being." Liu Yang's eyesight went dark. "Give me all your strength to attack and aim at the cracked opening." Qinzi also felt his scalp numb. He no longer knew what to say. Call out. The arrow charged by the Dark Ranger for 6 seconds shot out of the air. The damage is accurately calculated, just enough to clear out the remaining blood volume of the demonized flesh cocoon. At this time, a claw covered with black spikes suddenly stretched out from the cocoon and caught the charged arrow out of thin air. Click. The dark charged arrow actually broke into two halves in the middle and fell to the ground. There is even a soft drip tube stuck on the back of the hand. Chin-Z. Dark Ranger also showed surprise. You all should be buried with my son. How dare you destroy my perfect body? A beast-like voice sounded in the demonized flesh cocoon. Immediately afterwards, two claws covered with black thorns clawed at the cracks and slowly popped out of the body. A lizard-like face poked out from it, its golden vertical pupils lit with flames of malice. There is a pair of glasses on the bridge of its nose, and the demon's previous face can be vaguely recognized. You guys really deserve to die. It roared and stared at Chin-Z. If looks could kill, Chin-Z would have died thousands of times. Dragon. Chin-Z looked surprised. It looks a bit like a western dragon, a winged, fire-breathing lizard. Liu Yong was afraid of returning and joined the discussion. Chin-Z frowned and waited for the boss information panel to be displayed. But he did not wait for the boss panel, but waited for the opponent to crawl out of the cocoon wall. Alert. The words have not yet finished. The monster the Dean transformed into suddenly lost control and fell directly to the ground. Ah! Chin-Z was stunned for a moment, and then saw the scaly dragon-shaped monster falling to the ground, missing from the waist down. He could only crawl on the ground with his two claws. The golden vertical pupils were full of hatred. Ha ha ha. Chin-Z couldn't hold it back and laughed. It seems that the previous efforts were not in vain. Demonized dragon with a mutilated body. Nightmare boss. Level 55.10. HP, 340,000. Attributes. Strength 3217, Agility 103, Intelligence 1738. Skill 1. Demonized Dragon Breath. The demonic power is brewing in the throat. It is charged for 3 seconds and attacks by breathing, causing 700 points of damage per second and accompanied by the negative effects of demonization. If it cannot be cleared within 10 seconds, the body will corrupt and decay and become a demon. Food that transforms into a dragon. After eating, it increases basic attributes and skill damage. Because the body is mutilated, skill damage is halved, and the enemy cannot be devoured to increase attributes. Skill 2. High-speed flying. Due to physical disability, this skill cannot be used. Skill 3. Dragon body. Due to the incomplete body, the defensive effect of dragon scales is greatly weakened, the attack effect of dragon claws and teeth is greatly weakened, and the movement speed is reduced by 99%. Skill 4. Evolution. All dragons can evolve infinitely, and can also restore their incomplete bodies infinitely. Countdown to the recovery of the disabled body, 48 hours, 29 minutes and 53 seconds. Introduction. A dragon, the overlord of the world. Someone won't be able to sleep tonight. Liu Yong laughed. If the Dean can really become a complete demonized dragon, the future life will be great for him. Heaven and earth, everything is possible. But now, let's get more. The strength of dragons is higher than I imagined. And it's still growth-oriented. I must get a bone dragon or something in the future. Chin-Z was a little greedy when he saw the attributes of the demonized dragon. If this is allowed to take shape, I'm afraid I will have to explain it here. Fortunately, this thing is missing its lower body. Kill me. You deserve to die. The Dean is like a newborn lizard, with tender scales covering his body. Clear mucus slides down the body. Only that face betrayed old age and resentment. Very uncomfortable. It starts from the waist, with only a small, unsound tail on the lower body. Deformed and ugly, it crawled quickly on the ground, roared viciously, and poured out demonic breath after brewing for a while in its throat. It spreads rapidly forward in the shape of a cloud. The thunder skeleton warriors stood side by side, facing the terrifying breath without any thought of flinching. The electric charge in the air between them is increasing rapidly, and you will feel a tingling electric shock whenever you touch them. After the demonic breath enters this area, it is like entering a swamp. The speed was already slow, but it was even slower now. Then he landed early, with only a little stain on the first row of thunder skeleton warriors. Minus 523. Plus 300, great spell. Minus 518. Plus 300. 1 decrease and 1 increase greatly delay the death time of the thunder skeleton warrior. At this time, black arrows suddenly shot out of the air. With powerful kinetic energy, it suddenly stabbed into the chest of Dean demonized dragon. Minus 30,000. The Dean clutched his chest and shuddered back, then looked over more ferociously. It crawled on the ground with its 2 claws, dragging its incomplete lower body. He looked rather embarrassed and pitiful. We know how to fly kites when playing with it. The corner of Chin Zi's mouth raised. The Dean's movement speed was limited, so he naturally had to make the most of it. Then, a very magical scene appeared. The Dean tried his best to crawl forward a certain distance, while Chin Zi's troops retreated a certain distance. When he cursed and retreated, Chin Zi's troops followed him and moved forward. You can't attack, you can't run, you can't run. The Dean shouted in frustration. The Dark Ranger was in the team, pulling the bowstring slowly, charging up and releasing the cloud-penetrating arrow. It can cause 30,000 points of damage every 10 seconds. Dean's new dragon scales couldn't stop it at all. Father, how wonderful, ha ha ha, are we really going to clear the nightmare level dungeon? Liu Yong felt like he was in a dream. He just got the nightmare copy of the manor. This is something unprecedented and unprecedented. Once you get out, what kind of madness will happen outside? He couldn't even think about it. The most important thing is that as long as you have this clearance record, you will be stable for the rest of your life. And all this. Liu Yong looked at Chin Zi with emotion, feeling extremely excited. They were all given by others. The next step is much simpler, the main focus is a trick. You hate me so much that your teeth itch, but you can't hit me or run away. He could only watch his blood volume drop. At the same time, Li's company became more and more cruel and began to liquidate the professionals who had worked for Chin Zi. For a time, countless low-level professionals complained. Many people even choose to stand on the rooftop and end their hopeless life. Most professionals are struggling to endure the pressure of repaying loans every day. As they passed by the Nightmare Junction, they couldn't help but sigh subconsciously. It's been 2 days now, and there's still no movement at the connection. The first person who dared to resist Li's company just left like this. It's really unacceptable. When will this kind of life end? Every day when I open my eyes, I'm still owed money, and I have to sell the equipment and props from the dungeon to others at a low price. There is no end in sight, and life is so boring. Brother, it's okay if you're not married. Now that I'm married, I have to look at my mother-in-law's stinky face every day, and I still owe a lot of loans. Think about how much pressure I have. I didn't even dare to go home while sitting in the car. Chin Zi failed like this. There wasn't even a splash. It's really uncomfortable. Not necessarily. If it fails, Chin Zi's body will be teleported back. If nothing has been teleported yet, there is still a chance. Brother, don't be too naive. It's normal for nightmares not to return corpses. If there's been no news for 2 days after entering, it's most likely already cold. Countless people sighed. They need a strong man who can break the existing rules. But how difficult it is to create such a person. In history, this kind of people were emperors and could subvert the existence of the entire world. Maybe there won't be one for hundreds of years. S-class geniuses occasionally appear in Linhai City, but once such a genius appears, it will cause competition among various forces, and all kinds of exaggerated resources will be thrown at the genius. The Li family has more resources than the official, so there is a high probability that they will join the Li family. How can a genius who wants whatever he wants look at people like them at the bottom? Perhaps, they will live in oppression until death. Ever since Chin Zi entered the Nightmare Copy, a beautiful figure often appeared at the junction of the Black Abyss. Chin Zi, you must come out. Lu Xiu clenched her fists tightly. As long as you can come out, your money. I will pay it back for you. I will never do anything immoral again, and I will never lie to others in order to complete my performance. Please, come out. As she spoke, her eyes became mist-filled. Please, you must come out. Otherwise I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. I'm guilty. The other side. The students have received officially issued job transfer certificates, and the number of people coming to Black Abyss to enter the dungeon has surged. The hall was full of their chatter. Students, remember to buy a few more bottles of red pills. You can pass the simple level dungeon even by taking drugs. Everyone, please be careful not to take out loans to buy equipment. It feels great to use it now, but you will cry when you cry in the future. Do you understand? The head teacher nagged tirelessly. Understood. Everyone responded in unison. Afterwards, everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. Of course they won't do installment loans, because the counter-examples are there. The craziest one was Chinzi, who spent tens of millions in installments to buy a set of top-quality equipment. The results of it, before he started to feel free and unrestrained, he was forced into a nightmare copy. Now the people from Lee's company are guarding the Nightmare Junction, waiting to collect Chinzi's body. With such a miserable ending, even if they had 100 courages, they would not dare to stage it. What they didn't expect was that the principal, dean of students, and even the mayor came. Several people frowned at the nightmare connection. Having not come out for 2 days, what are the chances of Chinzi surviving? Mayor Tang Zhu crossed his arms and frowned at the spiral connection. The data analyst sighed and said, infinitely close to zero, even the chance of the corpse being teleported is very small. S-level geniuses in the nightmare-level copy of the manor have a great risk of falling. Chinzi only has a B-level talent, even if he escapes, it will be very difficult. Disaster. It's a pity, I should have contacted this child earlier. The principal said a little regretfully. The kid must have panicked at the time. No one came to give him any advice, so he entered the nightmare copy in a hurry. Hey, let's fight for him and try our best to ensure that he remains intact. That's all. The dean transformed into a half-dragon boss, crawling around in a panic. His short body was covered with black cloud-penetrating arrows. Looks like a hedgehog. 1 arrow, 30,000. Its blood volume quickly bottomed out. Ouch. The dean roared angrily, his golden vertical pupils seemed to be lit up. The breathing frequency is greatly accelerated, and more mobs appear around him. But it's of no use. Instead, Chinzi was successfully upgraded. Congratulations, you have been upgraded to LV.12, all attributes +1, free attributes +4, HP +500, mana +100. Chinzi casually added all the free attribute points to intelligence. The one that sticks out as a specialization. Undead summons are independent of their attributes. The higher the level, the stronger they will be. But other auxiliary and damage skills are related to intelligence and must be arranged. The demonic dragon boss is the most difficult boss he has ever fought, although his movement speed has been greatly reduced. Basically it can only be beaten, but as its dragon scales harden and its resilience increases. The Dark Ranger's charged cloud-piercing arrow is a bit underwhelming, with a fixed damage of 30,000, but the actual effective damage is only 10,000 plus. In the end, it's just a matter of time. Congratulations, you killed a contaminated soldier and gained experience +210. Congratulations, you killed a contaminated sculpture and gained experience +300. Congratulations, you killed a demonized ghoul and gained experience +150. All kinds of miscellaneous fish and monsters fell outside the encirclement composed of thunder skeleton warriors. When they enter the electromagnetic circle formed by the combination of thunder skeleton warriors, they will become like entering a swamp. His movements were extremely slow, even lifting his feet was laborious. In the end, it was harvested flexibly by the thunder skeleton warriors and shadow ghouls. The stalemate lasted for a long time, with the demonic dragon boss losing almost 2/3 of its health, and countless mobs and fish were killed. Chinzi's experience increased to level 13 and 72%. The time after that became a bit boring, I kept running around and grinding the boss's health. Very tedious. Father, when the nightmare copy is cleared, the official will give you a hard guarantee, and your installment debt should be interest-free. Lu Yong followed Chinzi and had already begun to imagine the beauty after leaving. Interest-free. Chinzi shook his head. I won't pay them back a penny, including the principal. Ah, Lu Yong was stunned and his mind went blank. Then he quickly advised. That's Lee's company. He has always exploited others. When has he ever suffered a loss? I advise you to think twice. The exchange company in Linhai City is managed by the father and son of the Lee family. They are both typical misers. When they plunder others, they would like to gnaw a piece of meat, but if they lose one themselves, rice, we must mobilize great efforts to retrieve it. You now owe nearly 50 million yuan in installments of 1,000 yuan, which is equivalent to cutting a piece of meat on someone's thigh. If you don't pay back, the father and son will go crazy. This is interesting. I like how the enemy is so vicious. In the end, he can only lie on the ground and run around like the Dean boss. Qinzi pointed to the Dean boss on the ground with a smile. Who would have thought that Dean boss would actually see him? The latter suppressed his blush and became angry again when he was extremely angry. Ha 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 ha. Qinzi raised his head and laughed. The other party's incompetent and furious look really looked like a clown. However, there are still professionals above level 30 in Li's company, and the mayor of Linhai City is currently only level 24. This is the root cause of the current situation, Lu Yong said worriedly. Level 30 professional. Qinzi frowned slightly. This is indeed a problem. Can he take action against me? If he attacks you in a dungeon, no one will care about it, because no one knows what will happen in the dungeon. If he says you were killed by a monster, no one can say anything. If it were in reality, he must not attack you. The super family Lees is not the only one. The government and the other 4 super families will restrict him. Once he takes action, it will cause public outrage. Lu Yong continued. It's easy to say that he can't attack me. Having said that, the influence of a level 30 professional on Linhai City may be far beyond your imagination. Some of his words are even more effective than the mayor, so he should use his power to suppress you. Qinzi looked at Lu Yong in surprise. Hey, I remember you studied hard when you were in school. How come you know so much about Li's company? Because my family chose to die because of the pressure of installment loans and the debt forced by Li's company. The funny thing is, they thought this would make my life easier, but in the end, all the installment debts were placed on my head. Lu Yong smiled sadly. So, after you become a professional, Li's company will also collect debts from you. This Mr. Li really deserves to die. I'll kill them all later. Qinzi looked into the distance with emotion. Lu Yong always thought Qinzi was just talking casually. Until one day, he saw a river of blood. You vulgar mortals. How dare you kill me? I will wake up one day, and then I will tear you into pieces. The Dean turned into a dragon boss, and after letting out an unwilling and vicious roar, he finally received another charged cloud-penetrating arrow. Minus 22,395 dragon scale defense reduction. After struggling for 5 hours, my body finally fell to the ground. The final boss, die. Congratulations, you have successfully killed the nightmare boss, Dean Demonic Dragon, and completed the first kill of the nightmare boss. You have gained experience 100,000, and the experience reward for completing the first kill 200,000. Congratulations. Obtained diamond level equipment magic dragon staff. Congratulations. Obtained platinum level equipment magic spear. Congratulations. Obtained the special prop dragon blood. Congratulations. Obtained the common prop corrosion rune. You have been upgraded to LV.14, all attributes +1, free attributes +5, blood volume +500, mana volume +100. Level LV.14. HP volume 7600, mana volume 4200. Attributes: Strength 63, Agility 37, Intelligence 142. Remaining free attribute points 0. Skills: Thunder Skeleton Clan Summoning Technique LV.12730, Dark Ranger Summoning Technique LV.1834, Shadow Ghoul Summoning Technique LV.242, Great Curse Technique LV.242, Giant Undead Cemetery LV.242. Talent: Resonance Crystal. Equipment: Scarlet Armor, Scarlet Cloak, Grimoire of the Dead, Scarlet Boots. Along with the screams of the demonic dragon transformation Dean, the surrounding mobs fell to the ground one after another. The twisted blood vessels all over the body quickly withered and failed. Turned into a pile of decay. Give Qinzi another wave of experience before he dies. Congratulations, the infected soldier has died, gained experience, 210 points. Congratulations, the demonized ghoul has died, gained experience, 160 points. Congratulations, the golem is dead, gained experience, 320 points. The experience value keeps rising, reaching 32% at level 14. Level improvement is not only the improvement of basic attributes, but also the unlocking of high-level skills. In terms of numerical value, professionals can never compare to dungeon monsters. The value of the dungeon boss is more than 10 times that of the super professional. But why professionals can still clear the dungeon depends on their skills and control of the attack mechanisms of monsters and boss. Find out how many attack methods the opponent has, coupled with the deduction of health bar, you can kill even the gods come. I actually got diamond level equipment this time. Dragon staff. Qin-Zi's eyes lit up. This was the first time he saw diamond level equipment. And equipment of this quality is extremely rare. When he visited the exchange before, he didn't see one. The highest level is gold level, and equipment above platinum level should go through the auction channel. Dragon staff. Level limit. LV.15. Professional restrictions. Mage, 124 intelligence. Quality. Diamond grade. Reinforcement. 0. Forging. 0. Enchanting. None. Attribute bonus. Intelligence plus 75, Strength plus 30, Agility plus 30, Mana recovery plus 5 per second, Blood recovery plus 1 per second. Skill 1. Dragon's Chant. When all mage skills are released, they will be converted into dragon chants. The skill effects will have additional dragon attributes. Low-level summons will gain the blood of the demon dragon, while summons with powerful bloodlines will gain dragon weapons. Damage skills will gain dragon breath, and defensive skills will gain dragon scales. Passive skills, no consumption. Skill 2. Dragon accompanies me. Wave the staff to release the dragon spirit, which can defend against mental damage and elemental damage, and can ride in the sky, with up to 5 people aboard. Duration. Unlimited, consuming 50 mana points per second. Skill 3. Wand blow. Melee ability. Wave the wand to give the enemy a head-on blow, causing 2,437 points of magic damage, and accompanied by negative effects such as dizziness, confusion, fear, etc., consuming 300 mana points, cooling time, 1 second. Skill 4. Dragon Roar. Releases the dragon's roar, causing enemies within 5 meters to be temporarily deafened and put into a state of panic. Enemies within a range of 5 to 10 can cause panic and confusion, desperate to escape. Enemies within a range of 10 meters can be frightened and will not dare to approach. Auxiliary skill, no damage, consumption of mana each time, 500 points, cooling time, 1 hour. Introduction. The staff contains the will of the demon dragon, releasing skills is like the arrival of the demon dragon. With the magic wand in my hand, I have the world. Isn't this a magic wand made from the corpse of a dragon? It's too powerful. All skills have dragon bonuses. Low-level summons come with dragon blood, while high-level summons have dragon equipment. Various skills and spells have dragon bonuses. If this were announced, it would make those mages cry. Moreover, this wand can be said to be all-powerful, capable of hitting and running. There is even a sap skill that makes no sound when knocked. The fourth skill, which seems to be the most useless, does no harm. But Qin-Zi knows that this is definitely the most powerful skill, even surpassing the first skill, Dragon Transformation. Because this is the real dragon's roar, the suppression of bloodline and rank will make any creature bow its head. If it were released behind an unsuspecting ordinary person, there would be a high chance of death from fright. Since it does not cause any damage, this skill can also be released in reality. You can only equip it at level 15, and I'm still 1 level behind. Qin-Zi took a look at his experience and couldn't wait for it. Complete Zhaofang's mission and you will be rewarded with 50,000 experience points. There are also corresponding rewards for first passing the nightmare copy and record holder. If you add these together, you can level up. Nightmare level boss, died like this. Am I dreaming? Multiple white lights appeared on Liu Yang's body, and it was obvious that his harvest was also very good. Even if he gains 5% experience, it will be enough for him to reach level 8. The higher the level, the harder it is to upgrade. Soon, he will enjoy the pain of Qin-Zi's current upgrade. However, the first pass record of the nightmare copy is enough for him to have food and drink for the rest of his life. Do you still think that I chose the nightmare copy because of the pressure from Li's company? Qin-Zi looked at him with a smile. Whether there is Li's company or not, you will choose the nightmare copy. Daughter just passing by. Liu Yang murmured. He suddenly felt that this close friend of many years had become mysterious and powerful. He couldn't understand it at all. However, becoming stronger is a good thing. If you become stronger, you won't be bullied. He can even trample those who were above him before. Super Family Lee Family. In the end, the boss, the demonic dragon transformation dean, is dead. Walls that were once riddled with scarlet veins. At this time, it has turned into grayish-brown, and the blood vessels have withered like dry vines. Qinzi followed the hand-drawn map and walked towards the children's dormitory on the first floor. He did not withdraw the large troops, but stayed on guard. Maybe we can flip it around in the end. Zhao Feng is also a boss, and he can easily die suddenly with nothing around him. I didn't encounter any monsters along the way, and the entire manor seemed dead. Finally, they stood in front of the closed dormitory door, and the prompt box sounded immediately. The door blocked by strong mental power cannot be opened. Qinzi was stunned. Immediately afterwards, a young and excited voice sounded from inside the door. Liang Yu, is that you? The little skeleton Qinzi brought with him immediately ran forward so excitedly that his head dropped. His teeth were chattering wildly, as if he wanted to say something. Unfortunately, he no longer has vocal cords. With a squeak, the door slowly opened, and the messy dormitory appeared in front of you. There was a little boy in the center of the room who was tied to a chair with his eyes covered. But he could accurately sense Qinzi and others. Breeze. Those with telekinetic powers. Level. LV.10. Basic attributes. Strength 17, Agility 23, Intelligence 2317. Skill 1. Psychological Field. Skill 2. Growth. Introduction. Superpowers born from extreme fear and hatred. The little skeleton held the skull and walked over step by step. This is your best friend, we brought him here. It's just, he's dead. Qinzi looked at the little boy with complicated eyes. The source of controlling everything outside the manor comes from here. Thank you for bringing Liang Yu. You are all good people. Zhao Feng raised his head and said with a smile. Complete the best friend mission and gain experience, 50,000. Get random props. Copy mirror. Get random equipment. Telekinetic glass beads, gold level hidden weapon. Thank you, outsiders. Let me know that my best friend is dead. Zhao Feng was tied to a chair, and his eyes were covered with white cloth. The tone was very calm. Xiao Feng's favorability plus 50. Ah, this. Lu Yong touched the back of his head, not knowing how to answer. He glanced at Qinzi, who shrugged at him. After they leave, the little skeletons will fall apart and their souls will dissipate. After I learned that Liang Yu disappeared, I tried my best to find him. Even though the aunt in the dormitory lied to me and said that he had been adopted, I still didn't believe it. The facts proved that I was right. All the adopted children died, fed to the terrifying demon. Since then, I have lived in fear and darkness. I didn't dare to tell other children, but I watched them disappear one after another. I'm so cowardly. Some children even look forward to being adopted, but they don't know the fate that awaits them next. I hate these people who deceived me, and I hate myself for not daring to resist. I always hope that Liang Yu is still alive. I hope everything is a dream and this is just an ordinary orphanage. Until one day, they found me. Xiao Fengdan told about his past things. What do you want to do next? Qinzi asked. I want to become the master of the manor and repay these people 100 times the pain I have endured. And those demons hidden deep inside the door, I want to take revenge on them. Zhao Feng yelled through gritted teeth. I have a prop here that can open the ancient door. If you don't mind, I can give it to you. Qinzi said and took out a blood moon. After use, it will become their watchdog. This is, thank you. Zhao Feng suddenly became excited. Under normal circumstances, he would not be able to open the ancient door. Only by using this prop can we trick them into opening the door. As for what to do next, it depends on Zhao Feng's idea. At the same time, Qinzi had a vague hunch that the Black Abyss copy was not refreshed infinitely. It may also have a big world line, and everything it does will most likely promote changes in the big world line. You gave the blood moon to the superpower Zhao Feng. Xiao Feng's favorability plus 1000. Do you need me to untie you? No thanks. Pain will remind me not to forget hatred. Congratulations, the copy of Nightmare Manor has been cleared and you have obtained the perfect ending, Xiao Feng's Revenge. Rating. SSS. Experience Reward. Experience plus 150000. Reward for clearance. Nightmare Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Equipment Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Manor Clearance Title 1. Congratulations, you have completed the first pass of the Nightmare Manor dungeon, and it has a perfect ending. Reward for obtaining the first pass title, Master of Nightmare Manor. Nightmare Manor Master. All professionals who enter this dungeon will receive a 20% reward bonus, the equipment explosion rate will increase by 20%, the item explosion rate will increase by 20%, and the difficulty of the dungeon will decrease by 20%. All professionals who enter this dungeon will receive a 20% bonus. Your approval is required, and you will receive an additional 3% experience. After wearing this title, all effects will take effect immediately. As this, the entire copy resource under my control. Who can enter and who cannot enter? Rao is Chin Zi, who has seen various rewards. Still shocked. You must know that the Manor Black Abyss dungeon is now the most popular low-level dungeon. Levels 1 to 15 will all choose to level up here. The strategic value is extremely important. It can be said that as long as he gets control of the Manor copy, the big shots in Linhai City will be polite to him. It's getting more and more interesting. Chin Zi raised the corner of his mouth. He now has the qualifications to negotiate at the table. Wow, I got a complete set of gold-level equipment, a first-pass treasure chest, and a record-breaking title. The experience makes me soft. Liu Yang shouted excitedly. In such a short period of time, he pinched his thigh 5 or 6 times. I'm afraid I'm dreaming. A set of gold-level equipment. Nothing else? Chin Zi asked in surprise. Wow, I'm very satisfied. Okay, what reward do you get? Nothing, just control of the Manor copy. Liu Yang raised his head suddenly. Quote? Are all the copies yours? Nightmare copy connection. The black vortex rotates slowly, as if it has never changed. Lu Guanghua, the manager of the exchange company, stood opposite, staring at the black vortex. The resentment revealed in his eyes seemed to be cuckold's hatred. There were 5 subordinates next to them. Their legs were sore from standing. They still didn't dare to complain. Instead, they kept smiling and flattering. Manager, this Chin Zi is really bad. He can't control himself. He owes so much money in installments. In the end, it will implicate you. If his body is sent out, manager, all you need to do is give him a look and I'll go up and slap him first. A few whips to relieve your anger. It's been 2 days. Chin Zi's body may have rotted in the monster's belly. He, look at those professionals, they are so dejected. How do they think that Chin Zi can come out of the nightmare copy and try to resist the company? It's really funny. These people don't have the consciousness to be dogs. They can't tell how much they weigh. I'm really convinced. In the end, they still hurt us. Quote. The 5 people talked to each other, complimenting and complaining. Lu Guanghua felt extremely annoyed, like 5 flies buzzing around him. Shut up. The 5 people who were filled with indignation just now became exhausted instantly. Lu Guanghua rubbed his temples, cursing a bunch of trash in his heart. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure in the distance, and his heart moved. Lu Xiu is here too. Go and call her over to me. Seeing that his position in the company was not guaranteed, Lu Guanghua had a plan in mind. Ah, yes. After a while, Lu Xiu, wearing black stockings, came over with a wary look. Before she could speak, Lu Guanghua cursed loudly. Lu Xiu, do you still want to continue working in the company? I don't want to do it anymore. I resign. Lu Xiu answered happily. After saying this, she turned around and wanted to leave. Lu Guanghua was stunned. He didn't expect the other party to be so straightforward. So, he immediately said, Chin Zi is now dead in the nightmare copy, and even his body has been eaten clean by monsters. And as his salesperson who approved the loan, you should shoulder all the debts. Lu Xiu stopped and turned around suddenly. He held his chest with his hands and had tears in his eyes. Chu Chu's pitiful appearance frightened Lu Guanghua. Because this doesn't make sense procedurally. As a result, what the other party said was completely opposite to what he thought. You said, Chin Zi is dead. How did you know? Lu Xiu choked up. Haha, you don't care about being in debt. On the contrary, I am worried about a stranger. It really makes me laugh to death. Lu Guanghua laughed loudly, looking like he was looking at an idiot. 2 days have passed, and no one is alive, and no body is found dead. Where do you think he could be? It must have rotted in the monster's belly. The words were not spoken yet. The announcement suddenly sounded. Congratulations, Qinzi's team completed the first pass of the Manor Nightmare Dungeon, which took 53 hours, 27 minutes and 32 seconds. Get the title, Manor Dungeon Master. Congratulations, Qinzi's team completed the first pass of the Manor Nightmare Dungeon, which took 53 hours, 27 minutes and 32 seconds. Get the title, Manor Dungeon Master. The announcement sounded in the minds of every professional in Linhai City. This is recognition from the Black Abyss. At this moment, the Black Abyss Hall was completely silent. All professionals have big mouths and a blank mind. What just happened? The announcement was saying something. Qinzi cleared the Nightmare Dungeon in 2 days. Ah, who was talking just now? Was it you? Lu Guangwu denied it immediately. He grabbed a subordinate by the collar and forced him to admit it. Qinzi clearing the Nightmare copy is undoubtedly the worst ending. If Qinzi disappears directly and the company suffers a loss of nearly 50 million, he will be demoted. Life is just not as smooth as it used to be. The company always has other ways to get 50 million back from others. The wool comes from the sheep. But if Qinzi successfully passes the level, then he is done. When he thought of facing the face of the young master of the Li family, his legs trembled with fear. That person doesn't treat people as people's masters. It's not me, it's not me. The sound of the Black Abyss announcement suddenly sounded in my mind. Qinzi, you really successfully cleared the Nightmare Dungeon. His subordinates couldn't believe it either, but he still yelled and said it. Buzz, Lu Guangwu felt his eyes darken and almost fell down. Lu Xiu, who was wearing black silk stockings, was in huge chaos at the moment. Is Black Abyss so humane now? If you died in the Nightmare copy, you still need to report it. Could it be that Li's company sent out some means to investigate, etc.? Why did you clear the level? Qinzi, he cleared the Nightmare copy. Quote. Only then did Lu Xiu realize that she had made a mistake. I have cleared the Nightmare copy. OMG. She looked towards the hall, which was filled with professionals but extremely quiet. Suddenly realized a problem. Linhai City, I'm afraid things are going to change. Just when everyone was in disbelief, they suddenly realized a problem. Now that the announcement from Heiyuan has come, does this mean Qinzi will also appear? Doesn't that mean that you are among the first people to witness a miracle happen? You can take it out and blow it for a lifetime. For a moment, the hearts of all the professionals were pounding and they were extremely nervous. This is the first passer of the Manor Nightmare Dungeon. Moreover, it is still a level 10 Manor Nightmare Dungeon. Professionals are very embarrassed at this stage. They only have some low-level skills and equipment bonuses are not high, so they cannot display much strength at all. There used to be countless geniuses, strong A-level talents, and even an S-level genius, but they all fell into the dust. Therefore, the Manor Nightmare copy is also called the Genius Tomb. But today, this iron law is broken. The most important thing is that Qinzi successfully cleared the Nightmare copy, which instantly gave them hope again. How to resolve the conflict between Qinzi and Li? An installment loan with a bonus of 50 million is not a small amount at all. Wow, I'm really looking forward to what will happen next. Qinzi has actually cleared the Nightmare level dungeon. Now his potential has probably surpassed some S levels, and is comparable to the perverted geniuses of the 5 major families in the Central District. With such a genius, will Li's company compromise and wipe out the debt? I think Li's company will definitely give in. Those guys are so shameless. As long as they can continue to make money and maintain their current monopoly, they can do it even by kneeling and kowtow, let alone a mere 50 million. Hey, yes, 50 million is nothing to win over a genius who surpasses the S-level genius. Maybe 500 million will be given back. We all know the value of super geniuses, and these big families are even better. Now it depends on Qinzi's choice. I hope he will not accept Li's company's apology and compensation, but lead us low-level professionals to resist and break the existing pattern. What are you thinking? People are crazy. They want to live a good upper-class life but help us break the rules. In the end, they get nothing. What is a real society? Don't we all live to maximize our interests? Quote. That's true, but maybe. Quote. Countless professionals recovered from the initial shock, and their hearts were filled with joy and worry. Finally, The nightmare connection began to twist and fluctuate, and two figures gradually appeared. It was Qinzi and Lu Yang. Oh my god, there are so many people. As soon as Lu Yang came out, he saw countless excited eyes and almost had a heart attack. It seems everyone is waiting for us to come out. The results are heartwarming. Qinzi looked around with a smile, his eyes locked on the face of a beautiful woman. Yo, the dedicated driver is here too. It saves him having to go out and fight later. Hey, don't take it as a farewell. Qinzi is tired and needs a rest. Wherever Qinzi passed, the crowds automatically parted ways. Countless looks were excited and shocked. It's like countless fans waiting for the international superstar to be there. Soon, someone realized something was wrong. Why is Qinzi so clean? There wasn't even a trace of dirt on it, let alone any injuries. Is this reasonable? You must know that the Black Abyss copy is displayed in a digital way. If a professional's arm is bitten off, even if the deducted blood volume is restored, the broken arm will not grow back. Even a 10th level professional can clear difficult level dungeons with flying colors. Few are complete, and Qinzi cleared the nightmare copy and was still unscathed. God, what is this concept? People looked at Qinzi in surprise. My head is a little confused. Wherever Qinzi went, the crowd separated automatically. At the end of the road was Lu Xiu standing there stupidly. Did you drive here? Qinzi asked. Ah, yes, the car is parked at the door. Lu Xiu looked distracted. She always thought that she had harmed Qinzi. The other party had a very bad life because of her, and even went against Li's company. I had to enter the nightmare copy to escape. As a result, someone cleared the nightmare copy. Can you give me a ride, please? Ah, no trouble, no trouble. Lu Xiu waved her hands repeatedly and immediately drove her beetle over. Countless women's eyes fell on her back, with envy and jealousy. Just as Qinzi was about to leave, a nervous voice suddenly sounded. Wait a minute, Qin, no, this man, I am Lu Guanghua, the manager of the exchange company. I had the honor to meet you before. Do you still remember? Qinzi turned his head in surprise and saw Lu Guanghua's flattering face. Why, do you think I have money now and want me to pay you back in installments? It's less than a month now. Qinzi said with a frown. No, you misunderstood. How can a genius like you be paid in installments? I just want you to meet with our senior management and have a meal together. We can talk about anything we have to say. Oh, then just erase it, why don't we meet again? Do not have time. Qinzi waved his hand and walked outside. Lu Guanghua was a little anxious and wanted to say something. Stop it, if you get stuck like a dog's skin plaster, you will bear the consequences. Lu Yang came to him and held him down with one hand. Understand, I won't speak anymore. Lu Guanghua nodded quickly. It wasn't until Qinzi left the Heiyuan Hall that everyone suddenly started making noises and discussions. How will Qinzi choose? Accept the olive branch from Li's company? Or, exchange company? Li Yuhao, the young master of the Li family, is sitting leisurely on the sofa. There was a row of people kneeling in front of him, both men and women, with sad faces. A bunch of stupid pigs, still trying to do something with Qinzi to embarrass me. People are hiding in the nightmare copy and can't come out, what about you? Every word Li Yuhao said was like a needle piercing their hearts. I know you are secretly saving some money without telling the company. The company originally cared about the difficulty of your life, but turned a blind eye. Now it is discovered that you are not worthy, you are a bunch of fools, and you should be squeezed to death. Repaying debts is a matter of course. All money transferred must be turned over. As soon as these words came out, all the people kneeling on the ground raised their heads in horror. One man among them even said excitedly, I have a son at home who has just entered junior high school. It is time to use money. Mr. Li, you are so generous. Get away. Li Yuhao kicked him aside impatiently. The total adds up to just over 200,000. This special code is so poor. The others clenched their fists, with despair in their eyes. For Li Yuhao, 200,000 yuan may be nothing. For them, that is a life-saving straw. Now, all is gone. Li Yuhao looked at the desperate people and showed a playful smile. In view of your extremely bad behavior, I will personally make arrangements for you to repay your debts in the future. As soon as these words came out, everyone felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. The company is in debt, but it can still be a dog. If the young master of the Li family is allowed to come, he can play with them to death. At this time, the announcement sounded suddenly. Congratulations, Qinzi's team completed the first pass of the Manor Nightmare Dungeon, which took 53 hours, 27 minutes and 32 seconds. Get the title, Manor Dungeon Master. Li Yuhao's smile froze on his face. Quote? What's the meaning? Did he really get through the nightmare copy? The people kneeling on the ground were shocked at first, then ecstatic. Qinzi cleared the nightmare copy, hope is here. Now that they are desperate, they might as well take a gamble with Qinzi. Li Yuhao's pupils were trembling, and he was sitting on the sofa helplessly. The mind is extremely confused. At this time, the phone next to me rang. Ling Ling. Li Yuhao quickly went over to answer the phone, and the caller ID showed the word father. Yuhao, no matter what the cost, you will drag Qinzi into our Li company. Do you understand? No matter what the cost. Oh, I understand, I understand. Li Yuhao hung up the phone and immediately felt confident. His father is the strongest man in Linhai City, with a level as high as 32, and the mayor has to bow his head even when he sees him. Whatever the cost, right? Li Yuhao was thinking in his heart, and then he laughed ferociously. Qinzi was sitting by the window of the beetle, with the fluorescent panel flashing in front of his eyes. Are you okay? Lu Xiu kept looking at Shang Qinzi through the rearview mirror, her face full of worry. In her opinion, Qinzi was forced into desperation because of the 50 million arrears, so he entered the nightmare copy and gave it a try. It's really too miserable, and this is at least half of her reason. What can I do? Why don't I just sit here and sit here? Qinzi was studying his skill panel and chatting casually with Lu Xiu. Nowadays, the summoning technique of Thunder Skeleton Warrior is as high as LV.20349. But there has been no promotion. However, he was quite satisfied with the power of the skill. At this stage, it should be the ceiling of combat power. Thunder Skeleton Warrior Summoning Technique LV.20352 summons 2 square arrays and 300 ordinary Thunder Skeleton Warriors. They have the ability to form formations to protect you. Duration: 1 day, consumption of mana, 500 points. 1 day, even if all the Thunder Skeleton clan is summoned. Qinzi would not be surprised in any way. The Thunder Skeleton Warrior did this first, hanging the Shadow Ghoul to upgrade. Now the level of the Shadow Ghoul is too low, which lowers the overall skills. When the last skill is promoted, the symbiotic crystal will be promoted along with all skills. By then, he will have undergone a qualitative change. But the problem is that he has too few skills, only 5 in total. It is hard to imagine that he is a summoner of the undead who relies on his skills to make a living. Lu Xiu was still muttering, the exchange company will definitely not give up. Those people are terrifying. Believe me, your legs will tremble when you see them. Now that you have cleared the nightmare copy, I don't know this, what it means is that it is very valuable and you should negotiate with them. Qinzi suddenly asked, does the exchange company have a high-level skill book for the summoner of the undead? Yes, there is, but don't be hesitant. Help me get all the high-level skill books. The more expensive the better. Ah, you don't still want to? Yes, in installments of 10 years. Just buy it hard. Lu Xiu. Buying 1 is free of charge, and buying 2 is also free of charge. So why not buy a few more? Will they put the genius who cleared the nightmare copy into debt? The beetle was parked in front of an old community, and the ladies and gentlemen were exercising. Are you really going to do this? Lu Xiu couldn't help but ask again. The other party is Li's company. Aren't you afraid? Come on, let me calculate the balance for you. Qinzi looked at that beautiful but confused face and said, I continued the career change gift pack for the first time, and then I followed your arrangement and bought the summoner of the undead for 990,000, right? Yes. Lu Xiu nodded repeatedly. This is the beginning of the root of all evil. Once it is staged, there is no turning back. Ah, if I owe 990,000, the company will also come to me. I have to download a copy to make money, but what should I do if I don't have the equipment, and I have to pay installments? Do you think this is getting more and more? To me, there is no difference at all between owing 1 million and 50 million. Qin Zi shrugged. It seems, makes sense. Lu Xiu's eyes were a little clear and stupid. Qin Zi returned to his empty home, feeling a little dusty after not coming back for 2 days. Come out, my Dark Ranger. Along with the chanting, the hot Dark Ranger appeared from the summoning array. She knelt on one knee in front of Qin Zi and shouted. My lord, what are your orders? The next second, a rag was thrust into her hand. Dark Knight. When it comes to cleaning, only the Dark Ranger in human form can do it. Thunder Skeleton Monster and Shadow Ghoul are both experts at breaking up houses. After all, it is the master's order. The Dark Ranger held a rag in his hand and began to clean up vigorously. Qin Zi sat on the sofa and began to receive the rewards from the dungeon settlement. SSS level clearance reward. Experience reward. Experience plus 150000. Reward for clearance. Nightmare Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Equipment Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Manor Clearance Title 1. Whether to receive it? Yes. Successfully received SSS level clearance rewards. Obtain. Experience plus 150000. Nightmare Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Equipment Treasure Box 1, Nightmare Manor Clearance Title 1. As the rewards were distributed, Qin Zi's experience points began to surge upwards. Level 14 62%, 0.73%, 0.89%. In Qin Zi's expectant eyes, white upgraded light fell from above. The level finally exceeded the 15 mark. Upgraded. Qin Zi's eyes lit up, and he immediately took out the magic dragon staff from the warehouse and put the equipment in his hand. Only now can we truly embark on the road to invincibility. The dragon's roar surrounded Qin Zi, and then suddenly spread out. The Dark Ranger, who was kneeling on the ground mopping the floor, suddenly felt a thrill all over his body. Some kind of threat from her bloodline made her raise her head warily. Then I was shocked to see that the owner actually had the power of a dragon. She lowered her head again and wiped harder. All I can say is, you are worthy of being a master. Now that I have reached level 15, it is no longer appropriate to go to the manor dungeon to farm monsters. I remember that the second stage of the Black Abyss dungeon included small environment dungeons such as Bloody Factory, Death Cruise Ship, etc., as well as large battlefield dungeons such as Twilight Plains. The latter was so large that the map was so big that it could even include one section allows all professional teams to enter the large battlefield dungeon at the same time to support the forces on both sides of the war. Large battlefield dungeons are usually unique, and the entire dungeon will disappear after the level is cleared. It is an important part of the big world line. If I remember correctly, the Twilight Plains battlefield dungeon has been played for more than 20 years. Countless professionals have participated in it. Some professionals were even killed by professionals from the enemy camp. These are dungeons. The authorities have no jurisdiction over what happened. In this world, the power gathered in the hands of individuals will be infinitely weakened by the government. If I can end the war in Twilight Plains, then the final reward should be very rich. Moreover, this kind of large battlefield is suitable for me as a summoner of the undead. I can summon a large group of summons with just one move. How can these natives and professionals fight me? Qin Zi has already decided in his heart that the next dungeon will be the Twilight Plains. Before that, all kinds of skills and equipment should be improved. Of course, they are all paid in installments. The money will not be repaid, the things must be the best. SSS Nightmare Treasure Chest, whether to open it. A huge box 1 meter long appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground with a thud. It seems to be very heavy. Various lines twist on the surface of the treasure chest, revealing madness and cruelty. Theoretically, the SSS Nightmare Treasure Box can unlock everything, including skill books, equipment, props, pet eggs, forging stones, and even weird gadgets, and all of them are treasures. He remembered that there was a video on Station B where an up-host was unboxing a live broadcast and found a devil with horns. A big hole was drilled into the house on the spot. From the original score, Qin Zi took a deep breath, then held the magic dragon staff in his hand, and at the same time signaled the Dark Ranger to be alert, and then slowly opened the 1 meter long SSS Nightmare Treasure Chest. The moment the treasure chest was opened, scarlet light immediately emerged from it. Just as Qin Zi wanted to see what it was, a snake-like object suddenly sprang up. He was frightened and subconsciously raised the magic dragon staff and struck it hard. Boom! Following a heavy sound, the snake-like strip immediately retracted into the box. Only then did Qinzi see the real owner clearly. It was a black-purple tentacle with a pointed front end, and its surface was covered with hair-raising eyes. WTF, you won't create a monster for me to fight. The scarlet light dissipated, and the nightmare treasure chest turned into black smoke. A book lies quietly on the ground. The cover is engraved with the icon of a triangular eyeball. So it's a skill book. That's okay. Qinzi's heart moved and he immediately stepped forward to pick up the skill book. Thousand-eyed tentacle summoning technique. Special summoning object. Chant for 30 seconds. It can summon a tentacle for you from the Forbidden Sea. The position is fixed and cannot be moved. Duration: 1 day. Mana consumption: 3000. It's actually this thing. However, it's okay if the undead summoner has something to do with the tentacles. The combat effectiveness of the tentacles still needs to be verified. With the help of skill upgrades, weak skills can become very strong. B-level talent resonance crystal, activate. Buzz. As the 3 crystals vibrated together, tentacle summoning technique instantly reached the same level as ghoul summoning technique. Thousand-eyed tentacle summoning technique, right pointing arrow spiritual tentacle summoning technique. Spiritual tentacle summoning technique, right pointing arrow admonition tentacle summoning technique. Admonishment tentacle summoning, right pointing arrow container tentacle summoning. Container tentacle summoning technique LV.1038, right pointing arrow LV.1039. LV.1039 right pointing arrow LV.1040. His tentacle skills continued to improve, and Qinzi didn't know what he would summon in the end. It's just the tentacles anyway. When it's time to enter the Twilight Plains battlefield, there are millions of natives fighting hand to hand. When the time comes, summon a few tentacles to let the natives open their eyes first. Next is the Nightmare Equipment Treasure Chest. There's nothing to say about this, just leave it open. Another scarlet light overflowed from the treasure box, and a small object floated up while spinning. Qinzi stretched out his hand to catch it, and the Nightmare Treasure Chest turned into black smoke and disappeared. This is a ring with an eyeball instead of a gemstone. You Nightmare Treasure Chests, can't you get through eyeballs? Those are all eyeballs. Qinzi looked at the weird ring and couldn't help but complain. But they are diamond level. Wear it even if you hold your nose. Nightmare ring. Quality: diamond grade. Restriction level: LV.15. Restricted occupation: mage, 150 points of intelligence. Basic attributes: intelligence plus 100, strength plus 10, agility plus 10, resistance to negative effects such as hallucinations, panic, mental attacks, etc. is increased by 2 times. Reinforcement: 0. Forging: 0. Rune: none. Skill 1. Illusion Maker. You can choose anything, including yourself, to create 2 phantom clones, inherit 50% of the original attributes, take double the damage, share memory between the main body and the phantom clone. Duration: 2 hours, cooling time: 6 hours, consumption mana amount: 1000 points. Skill 2. Sleeping. Forces any creature into a deep sleep state, lasting 8 hours, waking up after being attacked, cooling time: 24 hours, consumption of mana: 1000 points. Skill 3. Eye of True Seeing. It can see through all skills such as lurking, stealth, and camouflage, and can sense malicious intent and the danger level of the environment, and warn the wearer in the form of a prompt box. It is a passive skill, operates permanently, and has no consumption. Skill 4. Eye Confinement. The eyeballs engraved in the ring stare closely at the enemy, and the mental power will continue to strengthen, eventually causing the enemy to appear in a state of imprisonment. Activation time: 10 seconds, imprisonment time, eyeballs look away, mana consumption, 100 points per second. Introduction. You must not want to know its origin. Nightmare Ring, this one is not bad either. It's a little worse than the Magic Dragon Staff. However, wearing eyeballs on your hands is quite bluffing. Qinzi put the Nightmare Ring on his right index finger and admired the sunshine outside the window. As a result, her eyes rolled around and happened to meet his eyes. Deep in the black eyes, something seemed to be spinning. To drag him in, it deserves a beating. The master won't let him go. A violent reward was given to this big eyeball. Suddenly it tilted and made a snapping sound. Now the big eyes are much better behaved. Don't dare to look around anymore. Next is the title of Master of the Manor Dungeon. As long as I wear it, it will take effect immediately. Professionals who are spawning monsters and leveling up in the dungeon at this moment will be forcibly removed, and all experience and equipment rewards cannot be withdrawn. This is the Master. Overbearing. Should I wear the title now? Qin Zi frowned. The manor dungeons were from level 1 to level 15, which were basically the source of income for low-level professionals. If they wear it now, it is equivalent to cutting off their lifeblood. Forget it, why bother the debtor? At this time, the cell phone ringtone suddenly rang. Qin Zi picked it up and saw that it was a series of unfamiliar items. Reject decisively. There are so many scams these days, or they will ask you if you want a loan. Hey, it seems that loans can be obtained, and they can be obtained ruthlessly. After he hung up, the phone rang again. This time, a line of words was directly displayed, Linhai City Mayor's office. This card is a bit fierce. Qin Zi answered the phone and heard a voice from the other side. Hello, classmate Qin Zi, excuse me for interrupting you. I am Tang Zhu, the mayor of Linhai City. First of all, congratulations on successfully clearing the Nightmare Dungeon. It's really amazing. Principal Cao and I are still in disbelief. He didn't expect his own there will be such geniuses in the school. In the past 100 years in Linhai City, Qin Zi, your genius level can definitely be ranked among the top 10. Your presence is an honor for Linhai City. Tang Zhu said extremely seriously. To be able to say such compliments so sincerely, it makes people feel happy. However, the first words Qin Zi spoke made Tang Zhu unable to hold his nerve. Are you really the mayor, not a fraud? How about I call the police and ask first? Tang Zhu smiled helplessly. The style of this super genius is really a bit special. I'm downstairs at the moment, Linhai City's official special vehicle. You can confirm that my personal information is available online. Oh, come out of the car and let me take a look. Qin Zi said as he came to the window, and then saw an official car opening the door, and a capable woman with short hair and a white suit walked out, turning back to look at him. After confirmation, it is indeed the mayor. Well, sit back. Tang Zhu. Brother, I am the mayor. No matter what happens, I've already gotten out of the car. Why do you want me to sit at home? So Tang Zhu sat back again. Mayor, what's the matter? That's it. I sincerely invite you to join our official team. There will be a specially arranged establishment, and resources will be approved every month. With your current qualifications, you can get at least a monthly subsidy of 100,000 yuan, which can be selected from the treasury. What do you think of any item of props and a gold level suit equipped in real time? Qin Zi. To be honest, not very attractive. Not to mention gold level equipment, he now looks down on platinum level equipment. There are so many gold level equipment in his warehouse that they can all be sold to the official. The silence for more than 10 seconds made Tang Zhu feel a little flustered. She gritted her teeth and said, I can get a set of platinum level equipment for you from above, and match your level. Note, this is a complete set. Now it is priceless on the market, and various forces also use it as their foundation, to cultivate your own seed players. Classmate Qin Zi, I think you are worth it. There was silence again, and Tang Zhu was instantly stunned. Brother, you can't even look down on platinum level suits, right? To be honest, official resources are very tight right now, and the platinum level suit is already the most extreme reward. If it were Linhai City's Li Company, it would be possible to come up with a complete set of diamond level equipment. Thinking of this, Tang Zhu sighed. Classmate Qin Zi, did Li's company promise you diamond level equipment? If you join them, there is nothing wrong with it. After all, it is your own future. I can only wish you good luck. I have not joined Li's company and will not join in the future. Qin Zi spoke calmly, with firmness in his tone. What? Just as Tang Zhu was about to hang up the phone, his fingers trembled and he was immediately rescued. There's more to talk about. I have no intention of joining any organization right now. I'm currently only accepting partnerships. If you want. Qin Zi thought very simply. He hadn't collected enough wool yet. If he joins the officialdom, will Li's company still give him the opportunity to have for free? There is a saying that goes well, if you owe millions, tens of millions, or hundreds of millions, I am the master and can manipulate you as I please. But what if you owe trillions? I'm sorry, but when you see me, give me a kowtow first. Yes, yes, of course. Tang Zhu nodded repeatedly, feeling extremely pleasantly surprised. As long as Qin Zi doesn't fall to Li's company, everything will be fine. Well, I need a safe storage account now. No one can tamper with it except me. Can you do it? Of course, it would be better if it was kept private. It would be best if no one knows. Qin Zi said, already constructing a grand picture in his mind. Pay by installment, my money is still my money. To each his own. The gold level equipment in his warehouse is just waiting to be sold. But if the money is deposited into a general account, Li's company can find out and then directly deduct his money. Then the meaning of his free installments would be gone. Secure account. We can do this. But, your request is so simple, doesn't it require resources or something? Tang Zhu asked incredulously. If there is a request in the future, can I add more? Sure. Well, that would be troublesome. After hanging up the phone, Qin Zi had a smile on his face. Now that everything is ready, all it takes is buying and buying. As we all know, high-level skill books are very precious. At this time, a violent knock on the door suddenly sounded. Dong dong dong, dong dong dong, with an unkind connotation. The nightmare ring Qin Zi wore on his right hand turned quickly, his pupils staring at the door. Dangerous. Swish. The magic dragon staff was taken out from the warehouse and held firmly in his hand. The Dark Ranger followed closely behind, his scarlet eyes full of alertness. Through the peephole, he saw the grinning face of the young master of the Li family. And all level 20 professionals. There are 10 of them. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.